listen, T, don't feel like you are making a mistake. And I've actually had. You see, this is exhausting. Our people, my God, this is exhausting.
Don't.
I think I'm going to leave this place because people are exhausting. And I've had this conversation with CM. And he pretended as if he doesn't know the context you were talking from. This is scary. This is just scary. Our people,
because
people are so dishonest.
You see videos,
you know what?
Sorry, forefather.
You should come and take over. You are too dishonest.
No, let me see.
I am tired of you people. It's unbelievable. Show can come and take over. Show you can come and take over, please.
Forefather.
These people are just full of dishonesty.
Please.
They will never tell you the truth. I don't know whether
what are you accusing me? You've seen
whether it's deliberate or not.
Calm down,
please.
Something
is wrong. Something is broken in our people.
Father. Calm down.
We had long conversation. That's made this.
They asked a question. I gave you instances.
A long one.
I gave you instances.
What
see,
unbelievable.
I hope that Nigeria wins. I'm never going to wish any president evil so that I can say I told you so. No, I won't wish them evil. I hope. You see, I'm not praying. There's no point. I can't pray for Nigeria to be fine. I only hope that Nigeria wins and Nigerians win. Because if you choose a dodgy doctor who has a dodgy record, who has, all sort of accusations leveled against him to say, this doctor, we think he's done this, or this doctor, this surgeon. Yes, he's a senior surgeon, he's the most whatever surgeon, but there are a lot of accusations leveled against him. If you choose him to operate on you, and you tell me to pray for you that it doesn't kill you surgery, what's the point? I can't pray. You might make it, you might not make it. My prayer won't change anything. So I hope Nigeria and Nigerians win during Tinubu's 4 years. Thank you.
Don't forget, that state is now an oil-producing state. So they now have derivation, if you are not aware. So if you want to speak for anybody, please do not defend a Kalata like a Yabelo. Please do not.
Okay, let me respond to him 1 second.
Do not defend a Kalata like a Yabelo. Do not.
All right, thank you, Mohammed.
The people of that state.
Can I respond to him?
No.
Then go to hell. Rudolph, go to hell.
All right.
Rudolph, I've never seen this part of him before. My God.
Okay. Children are born and put on a rubber stool. No, I tell people, Dr. Damages, you need to come, if you want to know the level of poverty in Nigeria, you need to enter the Nigerian hospital. You'll be walking at the doctor, sometimes you cry. Sometimes we use our money to give patients. So when people see doctors go on strike, I get mad. I had to leave. It's painful. You see a child that you're taking care of. After a few days, the child is retrogressing. The child is getting worse by the day because the drug you recommended, you prescribe for the child, they cannot take the child's prescription to the pharmacy. There is no money. They don't have money in their account. The little baby that is so fragile, you manage to take their blood sample. They cannot process the blood sample because the person at the lab said no, they don't have the money in their account. They will take my salary if I process this sample. So you watch the innocent baby retrogress. What do? You take our money from your pocket and give that parent, madam, please go and put in this account. Let me see this child get better. And we're here defending thieves because they give you $5,000, $1,000. What is $1,000? Children are born and put on plastic chairs in Nigeria. Are we not ashamed of ourselves? And we'll call Obi stingy. Let him be prudent and let us have functioning hospitals. Let us have good roads. Our people are dying. Children are dying by the day. I had somebody when I was in Calabar, and when I was still a medical student, the man I used to buy something from at Amarian Market, his child was born premature. Guess what? But the child was older than the other child that survived. Why did his child die? Because the child missed the last incubator that was available. The other child that was born that was weaker had the incubator. His child did not have any incubator. They had to wrap the child and put a lamp beside him. That child died. Oh. And you people have the effrontery to come here and defend Tinubu Atiku.
Oh no, it's so sad. It's so sad.
You want to know poverty? Enter the hospitals of Nigeria. You don't know nothing.
It's so
sad. We have.
That's a good question. That's a great question. I don't know what is wrong with them all. Hey, don't know what's wrong with this. Somebody asking for where you do your course and you are sure you did your course there. I agree with you. But a lot of what we hear, because you didn't hear this direct from Tinubu, because you know lawyers are very funny. Sometimes lawyers will say, you must not say this. I mean, you know what is happening to Donald Trump right now? Donald Trump that guy is walking himself to jail. And he is coming down to say that, oh, well, it was my lawyer who said it. It was your lawyer who said it. It was your lawyer who said that you should march people to the Capitol and stage a coup. People stage coup in Nigeria. They never live to tell the story. That's what.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Have you subscribed? Yes, you. Have you subscribed? You. Yeah, before you go, click. It's free. Click. Just that's it. Have you subscribed? You are laughing. Have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, madam. Thank you so much. I can see you. I can see you. We have to get to 100,000 subscribers. This by the end of the year. How are we going to do that if you don't subscribe? Yes, you. Yes, you're about to click off. Why? Have you subscribed? It's free. If you don't, ask your son, ask your daughter how to. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hello there, everyone. It's good to see you. Happy Independence Day celebration. Here on Dr. Damage's show, we are wishing you all the best. We are wishing you a happy celebration. We just want to have a discussion, and the discussion is going to be centered on certain things that are bothering you, that are concerned to you and concerned to me. Some of these things are going to be not what you usually expect. Our topic for today is going to be the unity or separation, the future of Nigeria at 64. And I think it is a good time to judge you. And I think you are welcome. If you are not yet ready, get ready, because it's going to be a very, we're going to start selling very soon. We have a lot of videos packed for you that you're going to enjoy watching and also having to weigh in. Today, as you weigh in, remember that you are allowed to have your opinion. And this is what this platform is all about, having your opinion. And so we ask you to sit tight and let's move the conversation forward. My name is KJ, and you are welcome. Now, today in Nigeria, it was a bit of confusion here and there. Some parts were having the protests go on, and some were not really. Other places went to their farms, and continued life as usual. The question we have to ask ourselves is this really how other nations celebrate their independence? And many questions come to the fore when you think about Nigeria, whether you are on one side or the other. And sometimes when we talk about the unity or separation of Nigeria, some people rush to the end, which is that it's all about Biafra. No, we're not going to have this discussion centered all about Biafra, because Biafra is not the only separating force that exists in the fourth line of Nigeria. There are many other sections of Nigeria that have asked for separation even before now that we hitherto don't discuss about. But today we're going to center on what, apart from those faults, we already know those faults that run along the Nigerian plain. What are the other factors that may want us to continuously to unite and live as one? And what are the other factors that may continuously press against our unity and want us to go our various ways? I don't know what your thoughts are going to be, but I can assure you that you'll be free to express them here. Now, I will start with the introduction. Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation, and we are celebrating our 64th years of independence. Now, independence, whether we're independent or not independent, that's a question for another day. But we were able to drive away the colonial masters and got Nigeria independent on the 1st of October 1960. And just in case you didn't enjoy, because you were not around to enjoy that, let us see what those who were present, how they enjoyed the day and how it went.
It's the afternoon of Nigeria's great day, with thousands awaiting the climax and resolved to relish every minute leading up to it. Princess Alexandra, with Sir James Robertson, the retiring Governor-General, must have enjoyed the whole jubilant atmosphere of the occasion. A first-class show was put on for the benefit of spectators. Entertainers fairly let themselves go, tumbling head over heels with delight. Celebrating, however, as we all know, can be a bit exhausting. The princess was received with yells from the kids. Her friendly charm had quickly made her very popular. It was as the representative of Her Majesty the Queen that Princess Alexandra of Kent returned in the evening. She was about to hand over Nigeria's constitution, and presently, quoting the Queen's own words, she was to wish Nigeria a great and noble future. This was the moment for which the country's leaders, in partnership with British authority, had patiently worked. The Nigerians themselves emphasized that all has been done in friendship, and that friendship will continue. Meanwhile, top-ranking Nigerians, wearing their finest robes, watched in dignified silence as the climax of Independence Day was reached. In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Her Royal Highness handed over sovereignty to a new nation. The Union flag flying for the last time. Princess Alexandra was present, of course, for the final ceremony that took place on the stroke of midnight. This was the dramatic takeover by the new nation's own green and white flag. The next day came the state opening of Parliament. Princess Alexandra, wearing a white embroidered gown and a diamond tiara, entered the chamber where 350 senators and representatives and many guests had assembled. This was the first session of the first Parliament of the new Nigeria. Dr. Ezekwe, President of the Senate and Governor-General Designate, addressed the Princess, asking her to open Parliament by reading the speech from the throne.
October, now the battle is over. This is the date we've been waiting to celebrate. Balewa, Ezekwe, our law was a downer. Nigeria is free.
I'm sorry. I didn't know I was muted. Thank you, Florence. Yeah. So that was a beautiful video from what went down on the October 1st, 1960, captured for us by AP. AP, we thank you so much for that. And we also thank ITN for the second video. We will also, that will form our basis for discussion today. Even though we have other recent videos we're going to, let you see. But the question is, when that happened, it was a great joy and hope for the people of Nigeria. The leaders of that time, they had a vision, they had a mission, they had where they wanted to take their people to. And at the time of independence, Nigeria visibly was quite divided. It was divided into different sections, and we had the Eastern Bloc, we have the Western Bloc, we had the Northern Bloc. Everybody was looking forward to an eager and an egalitarian society where all man will be the same, no one above other. But yet, Nigeria after 1960, till this moment, which we are 64 years old afterwards, we are still celebrating what my dear friend, the Minister of Aviation captured it very well, and I would like you to see the video. Where is it now? Yeah, of the Minister of Aviation, what he had to say after 64 years of being independent. This is what we celebrate for.
Hello, fellow compatriots. On the occasion of our 64th independence anniversary, I wish to share this message of renewed hope and optimism in our country, Nigeria. Ours has been a journey of ups and downs in the last 64 years, but there has been no time in the history of our country that we have sustained democratic structures as long as this time. That in itself is a big win for the people of Nigeria, who now appreciate the need to develop democratic institutions. All we now need is some patience and some hard work to make all the gains of the very bold decisions of this administration come to pass. On our parts, in the aviation sector, we have also taken some very bold policy decisions. And soon, very soon, we shall all reap the fruits of our hope, hard work, and optimism. Happy Independence Day, Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Mr. Festus Keyamo. I have for a long time refused to agree with him, but on this occasion, I agree with what he has said. So after 64 years of independence, all we can celebrate is the fact that democracy have strived this long. And I think that is a narrative that he didn't create. So I'm not trying to bash him in any way. I'm simply saying that he captured the atmosphere of the Nigerian people and what we are really, really celebrating. We all have witnessed how other nations celebrate. We don't know whether that is the same thing that the people witness. That all they celebrate is being able to have a democracy, enshrined, or being able to run democracy for many years. So that's what they celebrate. However, there are other factors that are supposed to be celebrated. What is the lifestyle of the people of Nigeria? What are the aspirations of the founding leaders able to be achieved? How far have we taken this message of democracy to our people? If you ask the ordinary Nigerian in the streets or in his farm if he enjoys democracy vis-a-vis before democracy came, what do you think, or which way do you think is going to actually pander to? Will he say, oh yeah, we have enjoyed democracy, or no, we don't seem to be seeing any dividends of democracy, as they say in Nigeria? However, I will want Mr. Shore to lead that charge today, and he has to tell us a little bit of what he feels right now at the street of Lagos. And this is Mr. Shore's take, for the reason why we should not have an independence celebration.
It's revolution now, because we believe that only who have made life miserable for our people, the looters, the corrupt guys, both in the oil sector or whatever sector they may be. Our own independence starts now. because the independence we got in 1960, we struggled for. They struggled for it. We are struggling for a new independence, and it is part of the continuation of what we started in 2019 with revolution now, because we believe that only revolution can save this country. Revolution! Yeah!
They are actually been arrested, and what
work is in progress, and part of what we're asking them is to release them today. Everybody has been detained, whether it's in Kaduna, in Abuja, Katsina, or Kano. The federal government is ordered to release them today. If by the end of the day today they don't release all the detained, end bad governance, and end SARS people, some of the end SARS in 2020, we will tell you the next plan of action. Thank you. Are you doing census?
Okay, that is Mr. Shore, as usual. The man with the lion heart is right there in the streets of Lagos, leading the charge. And I think Nigeria needs more of Shore. Whether you like him or you hate him, the man has a heart and is able to, step out of line anytime that there's a demand for that. And I thank him and I respect him for that. He has been very consistent over the years, and he has clearly put the cart where it belongs, not before the horse, but behind the horse. And what is he saying? Even you are celebrating democracy. Those who have been protested, which is a right under the Constitution, are still being held under a democratic president without being taken to court or being given any trial. And we still say we are celebrating democracy. So what is he saying? Democracy has come, but we are yet not in any frame of democracy. But in response to Mr. Shore, this is what our president, I will just take a little bit of what he said concerning the youths, and so that you see how well they are intervening to make sure that things are happening for everyone in Nigeria.
In focus, recognizing that we wish to bequeath to our children in focus, recognizing that we cannot design a future that belongs to them without making them its architects. Considering this, I am pleased to announce the gathering of a national youth conference. This conference will be a platform to address the diverse challenges and opportunities confronting our young people, who constitute more than 60% of our population. It will provoke meaningful dialogue and empower our young people to participate actively in nation building. To be
I'm sorry, I don't know why this thing keeps switching off today. You're all welcome to the studio, Mr. James and Revolution. It's been, you must have heard about my introduction, or heard the introduction. I tried to, put in words what I'm thinking and what we should try to achieve. But before you even go on to formulate your thought, let me show you another very, very, very impressive video. Sorry, that was the wrong one. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. The chicken will not allow her hen to be taken away, her egg to be taken away. But once given some grain of corn, she watched helplessly as the egg was taken away. Is that what is happening with the Nigerian people, Mr. James?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This place is a bit dark because I'm on the veranda.
Who can see you?
Okay, good. The Nigerian situation it has reached a stage whereby it can no longer be analyzed, no matter how you look at it. Well, if the hen allow, frankly speaking, I cannot answer your question. Let me be very frank with you. Let Mr. Revolution try. I must be frank. I cannot answer your question. I'm like a student in an examination hall posed with a set of questions on a question paper.
Okay.
I mean, I can't answer your question.
Generally, Revolution. Do you see that trick that was played by the man who was feeding the chick? Is that what's happening in Nigeria? Because at each point in time, when you think that the people are going to take an action that will probably free them from the bondage of government overbearingness, you find out that it is the energy somehow disappears in the air, and we start all over again counting with numerous promises of it's going to get better tomorrow. You should endure a little bit more, and yet the things are getting harder. What do you think?
Anyway, good evening, KJ and Mr. James. You see, what Mr. James said is he answered that question by telling you that question is very difficult to answer. So for me, if I want to try, I just want to try because it's difficult to answer that question. I just want to make a try. Maybe it will make a sense to anybody. Our man today, not my man, our so-called president today made a speech today. And you remember this man who showed this chicken and the corn. He told us, the people, he will give us agbado. You understand? And that agbado means it's what we need in Nigeria. Today is rice. Anything is rice. So he gave the chicken that corn because corn is one of the favorite food of the chicken. You know what I mean? It's either you mash it or you give it to them like that, how the man gave them. And then Nigerians will do what? Close their mouth. So if that's what the man is trying to portray with this video, that he has given us another promises, don't worry, things will be better, without even addressing the issue at ground. He did not mention, in fact, I listened to a point, I just throw my phone away. He did not even mention nothing about what the problem of Nigeria is, other than that same system. He gave the chicken, the chicken refused the egg to be taken away. So now the man now bribe the chicken with the corn. And then while the chicken was swallowing it, he was able to put his hand and take the egg. So this is what I can make out of what the man did, what that picture is all about. But in reality, I can't answer that question, to be honest with you. I was just beating around the bush.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. James, so what do you think? What should Nigeria be celebrating independence? And if so, have we can we beat our chest, our hands on our chest, and say, really, we have done well as a nation for 64 years, or is there something we're missing?
Not just as a nation, as a people, the whole of Africa has not done anything. The whole of Africa, from Dakar in Senegal to Mombasa in Kenya, from Alexandria in Egypt to Cape Town in South Africa. The whole of Africa, we've not done well. And there are a lot of factors responsible for our inability to perform. The forces are not only internal, but also external forces. Foreign interference in the activities of Africans is the root cause of all this problem, not just Bola Tinubu or what have you. I'm saying this because on a number of occasions on this platform, I've mentioned something. Whenever Africans in general have good leaders, those leaders don't know peace. And who are those disturbing them? They are the Westerners, not the Easterners. Take Patrice Lumumba of Congo, for example. He was murdered. Thomas Sankara, Blaise Compaoré connived with France and got him killed. Murtala Mohammed, February 13, 1976. Suka Bukadimka was at the British High Commission of all places before they went for their dastardly act. Mengistu Haile Mariam of Ethiopia did not know peace. As for Robert Mugabe, that is a very special case, which Africans are not even interested in addressing, because what those people went through is horrendous. They went through, you see, I think it was in Psalm chapter 23, in David talked about walking through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Those people went through the valley of, in fact, they went through hell, not valley of shadow of death. They went through hell in Zimbabwe. Because of the way they got their independence, Britain do not want them to know peace. Now in Nigeria, whenever we have any reasonable leader, they don't know peace. A very good example is Murtala Mohammed. So this problem we are addressing, we should also look beyond the shores of Nigeria. During 2023 election, is it not surprising that the three prominent candidates, they went to Chatham House, of all places, to do what? Peter Obi appeared on this platform. I asked him, what did you discuss behind the scenes when you got to Chatham House? These are people who colonized us. You are looking for leadership. You are going back to them in Chatham House. He responded that he did not discuss anything behind the scenes. When he finished delivering the speech, he returned. If he only went there for speech, why can't he deliver it online? Why fly to UK to just deliver a speech and return? So you see, a lot of things happen in Chatham House, which is now playing out in Nigeria, which we are not seeing because we refuse to see it. A majority of us are not literate in history. History is no longer being taught in schools, and this is the mess we find ourselves. Western interference in our internal affairs is the main predicament we are grappling with, which we are not seeing. Why is it that whenever we want to organize ourselves, we go to World Bank, IMF, and what have you? There are other institutions in other parts of the world. We can team up with any other nation of the world to find our bearing. Why must we always go to the West? These are conditions they've already programmed, which we are following hook, line, and sinker. And this is the cause of the problem we are facing today. See Mr. Tinubu with his Chicago Wahala. The Americans, I believe, so I don't have any clear, empirical proof, they are squeezing his balls because of that Chicago problem. If it is true that he was involved in drug trafficking, they are squeezing his balls because of, you see, they're not the kind of people they support, so that when they get there, they get what they want. Whenever Nigerian and African leaders invest money, they don't take it to Japan, they don't take it to Singapore, they don't take it to Malaysia. It's London, Paris, Western countries. So what is really going on behind the scenes?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so Mr. James have said, I want to again believe that Mr. the Minister of Aviation said, there's something new, there's something good happening in Nigeria. Okay.
No, we are used to this grammar they've been talking about. Let me tell you the plain truth. On this platform some time ago, I mentioned something. When my father was alive, he was a very hopeful man. Whenever they were reading the budget in the Midwest state of those days, he would tell us, this is a budget of hope. Let us be hopeful. The future will be all right. Oh, you see the analysis, the amount of money they will spend, all those kind of grammar. He spent all his good life living on hope. I inherited the habit of living on hope from him. I'm already an old man. My children have already inherited the habit of living on hope. For how long should we, as a people, keep on living on hope? Generations are inheriting hope. Whereas those people who are making the country hopeless are living in stupendous affluence. So what kind of hope are we talking about?
Okay,
so Professor Skayamu will leave us alone. He's part of the cabal.
Thank you so much. Man of prestige, I wanted to come to you, but my panelists are saying you are wearing, can you put another shirt over your singlet so that we can have your very contribution? Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm still coming to you. There's a young man who spoke very eloquently that we need to interrogate what he has said. And Mr. James, you'll be the right person to start this conversation. But let's hear the man.
To display flagrant opulence, to celebrate how they have accumulated wealth, how they have deepened inequality over the years. We are on the streets protesting the worsening of the condition of the working people of Nigeria over the past 64 years. What we have seen over the past 64 years is the increasing worsening of our lot as working people. We have seen a situation in which poverty rate has continued to increase. We have seen a situation in which access to basic services has continued to reduce, such that education is almost totally inaccessible for the child of the common man today, such that food is almost inaccessible for the bulk of Nigerian people today. We have too many of our people sleeping on the streets who are homeless today. That is the situation we are in today. We have a situation in which, just name it, healthcare is almost totally inaccessible. We have always been saying that it takes just a single health problem to ruin all of one's savings and all of one's life today, because healthcare has become so costly. Life has become almost totally unbearable and unlivable for the mass of the Nigerian people. And that's why we're on the street today to say enough of the worsening of our situation as working people. We want better life. We want access to healthcare. We want access to education. We want access to even water. Water has become almost totally inaccessible even today. So that you have to pay heavily to either buy pure water or to buy from Merua. This is where we are today. And if it is possible, they will have even privatized here. And that's what we are witnessing. I'm saying enough is enough of this hardship. Enough is enough of the worsening of our situation. We want better lives. We want our children to be able to go to school. We want people to be able to access health care. We want people to have our housing and stop living under the bridge. Here at Keja under bridge that we have, you know how many the number of people who sleep under the bridge here? So this is what we are saying. That enough of this situation. We want better lives for our people.
Okay, Mr. James, I'm coming to you, man of procedure. Welcome. Mr. James, you will have thought that the people who speak this way, who are so angry at this level, will stop at nothing until they get what they want. But we have seen this over time. And at the end of the day, everybody will go back to their homes and they'll continue the same kind of life they've been living before. What is the reason for that? Is there anything that Nigerians don't have, the ability to hold on to a cause, or what is it?
No, you see, this is how the British programmed the country before they left. They planted the seeds of tribalism, discord, and what have you. They watered it profusely, and it sprouted and started germinating, and it's firmly rooted at the moment. This is one of the reasons. They never created a nation. They only created a country before they left. There's no nation called Nigeria. What we have is a country called Nigeria. So it's every man to himself and God for us all. That is how we were brought up. And this is one of the fundamental reasons why I believe that there is need to dismember the country. Because there's no way you can build a nation out of these sharply contrasting differences we'll be grappling with for 64 years. But people seem not to agree with me. Well, every man is entitled to his opinion, no matter how erroneous it is. My opinion is we just have to look for a way to, kill this monster called tribalism. There's absolutely no way the South and the North can see things from the same perspective. This is one thing I'm saying. Even the Yorubas and the Igbos, the majority ethnic groups in the South, they are finding it increasingly difficult to see things from the same perspective. Now, take education, for example. In the 50s, maybe before I was born, I can't remember, when Awolowo declared universal free primary education in the whole of Western Nigeria, the Northerners refused. They refused to key into that program. As for the Easterners, the government did not declare free education, but the people from their private initiatives, they were able to bridge the gap to some extent to catch up with the West as much as they could. But the Northerners bluntly refused. And since independence till now, apart from corruption and all sorts of vices, tell me one thing that the North and the South have seen things from the same perspective. It's very difficult to point out anything other than, nefarious deeds. So this is how I see it. Now, Showore has done his best today, but is it not disheartening that the turnout was very low? From what I'm hearing from foreign broadcasts, they said the turnout was very low. Does it mean that the people are not feeling the pains of Bola Tinubu's administration?
Thank you. I think man of prestige is here to answer that question for us. Man of prestige.
Yeah.
The people who are complaining and who has always asked you for a careless 2,000 naira from there refuse to come out to join to press their point home today. What could be the reason? Is that the people now enjoy their suffering, or majority of them who are supposed to be ringleaders, opinion leaders in the community have been bought over by the system? What is your own take on that?
I wouldn't say they have been bought over. I mean, it is the elite who has been bought, who are pretty much the elite are pretty much together. But let me say something about the protest. I mean, at least Showore came out, we have very sporadic. I think there's some in Abuja, I didn't see that, but about two process, like a proceeding that probably show, one of them led by Showore. At least some people, came out. Just because of the previous what happened, nothing is going to emancipate from whatever is happening. But I still give kudos to Shore for coming out. So I wish the ordinary people have been bought over. I guess people are being sanitized that nothing they do, the president is not going to listen. We can speak from today to the kingdom come. Nothing is going to happen. I mean, but at least you have a very sporadic, protest. It's still better than nothing. That's the way I look at it. Having a mass shutdown of the whole country. We know today is public holiday. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, where everybody go back to work. If that's going to transfer into more bigger, things, because they say it's supposed to be continued. This is just the beginning. So I don't know what's going to happen. But in my own opinion, I think it's a good thing. So let me say something about the so-called independence. I tend to ask this question: are we actually liberated? We know the genesis of Nigeria independence. Okay, initially we are tribal isolation. You have the Igbo, you have the Yoruba, the Hausa, and some other minor tribe. That's what I call tribal isolation. Then we were colonized by the West, and from there we got our independence. From independence, we have supposedly what we call a civilian rule. That didn't last long. Then there's a coup, that prevail after that. Then there's the disaster of the Biafra War, that kill over, depending on who you're talking about, 2 million, 3 million, or something like that. Then from there, it's a military coup. And what we have right now is just election malfeasance. Nothing is really, transferring. We are still going to the same thing. In my opinion, we're not really liberated. Yeah, we so-called independence on paper. That's the way I see it. And for today's speech, today's speech amount nothing but nothing, because I look at it, there's no substance in the president's speech. from this is my own personal opinion. You may have read it differently. There are no substance in what you said, because if you look at it, it's a campaign speech. About how it's going to mobilize the youth or something like that. I guess they try to counter the obedience, or try to mobilize the youth, for them to come and present the opinion, and you can dialogue with them. I mean, that's already been happening, So it's all deceived. I mean, he's deliberately deceiving Nigerian people, I mean, he's merely hoping that Nigeria will get used to the reduced standard of living. That's where we are right now. They are accustomed to the reduced standard of living, and it's going to continue. So I don't really give credence to this speech or whatever. It doesn't matter. You have to, it's a matter of implementation. It's not just speech. I mean, it's speech. It doesn't do much without any kind of implementation. So, independent 64 years. I'm happy for myself, but I don't call whatever is happening in Nigeria any kind of independence.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. James. Does Nigerian system of government even help the people of Nigeria? Because it's supposed to be a system of government that checks, check and balance. But so far as it looks now, it doesn't even seem clear to the ordinary man anything at all. It's like once you're a president, you are the law. The law begins with you and ends with you. Whatever you say is what the judiciary does, is what the assembly does. Is there a way that the Nigerian people can get a better out of the governance system of Nigeria?
No, they cannot get it, because this program they are rolling out was cooked at Chatham House in the UK. I do not know if you are believing me. It was cooked at Chatham House, the United Kingdom. If you ask the British people today, is Nigeria doing fine or not? They'll tell you it's a shining example of democracy. You get the point? And this same British and the West, they will tell you that the Iranians, what they call them, is the rogue states. The Koreans, that's another rogue state. And other rogue states they've identified in other parts of the world. They say, no, they are not democratic. They are, all those kind of grammar. But they call Nigerian democracy a democratic system, acceptable to them. They eat and drink with Nigerians, but they cannot eat and drink with the Iranians. They cannot eat and drink with the North Koreans. So anything that the West approves of, to them, there's nothing as better. In fact, there can be nothing better than that. That is how they see it. So if you ask certain people, if Nigeria is catering for the needs of the people, they say, well, the government is doing the very best they can. They can't do more than what they are doing at the moment. Just be patient. Everything will be all right. But if you ask another set of people, is the government doing well? Certainly not. They're not doing anything for the people.
You listen to the president's speech, and I'm a bit carried away. I'm coming to you. I'll come back to you, Mr. Man of Presi. But hold on, let me talk with Mr. James. You listen. I don't know if you listened to the speech, but I listened to the speech. I was looking for a punchline, a baseline of where he was what he was trying to articulate and bring. Except that, just like Man of Presi said earlier, it's a form of mobilization for the youths that are somehow seem to be pandering towards Obi to get them to an assembly, and at the end of the day they are bought over, or a more wide card is thrown to them to say, look, we have a big plan for you, this has been played over time. Is it that the Nigerian people are not able to grasp whatever when these cons are thrown out to them to know that they are about to take their eggs or what?
Fortunately, I did not listen to his speech for one reason. It reminds me of a man they call Salman Rushdie. If you still remember, the man who wrote the Satanic Verses. Now, when the Ayatollah declared a fatwa on him that he should be killed for desecrating Islam, majority of the Muslims all over the world, they were asking for his head. I was in the Gambia then, in the 90s. I had cause to discuss the matter with certain people. And these guys, from the look of things, they've not read Satanic Verses. Yet they are calling for the head of Salman Rushdie. A book you've not read. You want to kill the author because of the opinion of other people. So anyway, That is the situation I find myself now. I'm criticizing Bola Tinubu speech, a speech. I'm criticizing Bola Tinubu's what's it called speech, a speech I did not bother to listen to. Although I heard some commentaries here and there, but I did not listen to the speech because, according to the Rastafarians, nothing good comes out of Babylon. It will give me heartache if I listen to that speech. But from what I listened to, what this guy said, is it Oseni Rufai of Arise News? If it is true that he's assembling the youth, it means that the activities of Showore is yielding some dividends already. It's dawning on them that these youth, somebody is waking them up. So let's bring them closer. Because no matter the number, when they assemble them somewhere, when they're going home, it's very likely they're going home with very part of, what they call takeaways. And not only that, they will try to identify the major ringleaders nationwide and co-opt them into their ruling party. So this is a way of silencing the youth.
So, okay. All right. So, Mr. Man of Prestige, these moves are not really because of national cohesion, but how to continuously maintain, their presence, dominance in power, and vis-a-vis the resources of the people of Nigeria. If you were an ordinary Nigeria sitting in your community, what would be your advice to your youths? Assuming you have your youths to listen to you, what would be the advice you call your youths and tell them? Will you say to them,
my advice is, not to listen to what the president, speak. You need to form your own organization, find a way to liberate yourself from whatever condition we find ourselves. Because like I stated, it's another campaign mobilization that he's talking about his own youth. But my concern is that regardless of where we find ourselves right now, some youth are going to buy into it. Some youth are going to buy into whether the so-called battle fire. You're going to have them going there, some gullible people are going to jump them. Of course, the butterfly will be with them already. So it's a form of campaign mobilization. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I will advise them, that's what Chivalry should be able to be preaching. Try to get the youth out of that, conundrum, because that's what the president is doing right now. Campaign already started. Let's just call it what it is. How long they've been in power for 1.5 years. By next year, it's campaign. That's 2 years. So whatever they have achieved right now is all they're gonna achieve, which amount to nothing. So it's gonna be campaign. Anyway, in every campaign or election, it's not just a moon to Nigeria. Even here, campaign start 2 to 3 years before. So Nigeria is gonna be full force campaign next year. Not gonna be achieved. Whether it's gonna reshuffle his cabinet or that one, it's not gonna achieve. Everything is just on paper. That's where we find ourselves right now. Yeah, I will advise them not to, but I mean, use the social media, to mobilize the youth, to desist from this campaign, the president is trying to take. That's all it's about. There's nothing into it. So,
okay,
I'm just afraid about where the country is heading, the trajectory, the country is heading. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Ositadima. You're welcome. Yes, Mr. James, I saw your hands up.
Yeah, you see, if I'm asked to advise the youth, I will not advise them. For one reason. Socrates, I always say, said if people get the government they deserve. They deceived everybody in 2023 that they will make they will make he-goats pregnant. They will make rain fall in Sahara for 6 months continuously, non-stop. Now, what are we getting? You get the point? So the youth should also use their heads. Those who believe in God, I know they believe that God gave us head to reason and not to carry load. If the youth decide to use their head to carry load, so be it. That is how I see it. I will not advise anybody. When they are tired of saying they are tired, they will know what to do.
Thank you.
What I know for certain is that there can never, never, never be a change without a revolution. But not all revolutions bring about the desired changes.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Mr. Ositadima, you are welcome. And then here is a question for you. People on this argue that for Nigeria to continue to remain united, there's more benefits. And one of those such benefits is the fact that it is better for economic development. That a larger market and a more population gives you more access to markets and also more money to be able to do your business, grow your economy and grow your people. Will you agree that that is why Nigeria should continue to remain as a nation together?
KJ, happy independence to you, although there's nothing to celebrate, actually. And also, as you can see, I mean, you can already tell I have a little boy in the background. If that's a problem, then maybe I'll come back and speak when he's more settled. But I hope
we are celebrating Nigeria, so he's also in Nigeria. So go ahead.
Okay. Now, whereas it is a decent reason, but it's not a reason enough for people to be together. You need to be alive first of all before you can think of wealth creation. The current state of Nigeria with insecurity, people kidnapping people, it's almost like there is this air of cannibalism within the country. People are eating themselves, you see. There's actually famine, hunger in the land, if I may put it that way. Okay? In a land of plenty, people are struggling to feed. So a nation cannot fall further from below that. So for me, it would be a gross mistake for people to say, oh, let us stay together as a nation because of market. The way the world is today, you don't even need to leave Africa to make trade in Europe. If you know what you're doing. Because with the grand infusion of the internet, diffusion of the internet per se, you can do anything you want from the comfort of your home. So for me, no, it's not a reason enough. We need to be together because we all want to be together, because we enjoy our cohabitation, because we enjoy peace, because we share common values. If people who do not share common values, who do not have values that they hold dear in general, it's difficult. So Nigeria has a lot of problems, my brother, of which I don't think today is a day for us to start naming all of it. But before I, yield the floor, Mr. James, good evening to you. It's been a long time we had an encounter. Please, there's one thing you always say, and there's a part of it I support, and there's a part of it I do not support. For me, I have said, I agree with you. There's no point in anyone going to Chatham House to make presentations because they want to be president. But then again, it also depends on the spectacle from which you view it. What is the difference between Chatham House, maybe when Obi goes to Chatham House, and when he goes in a restaurant in the UK conversing with people? Because I've not heard people say something about that, conversing with other Nigerians. So I would like for you to give me a reason why you have problem with Chatham House, but you don't have a problem with that, because all of that engagement is not happening within the geography of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. Will you say take care of that young man?
Okay. Now, right. Yeah, and just one more thing before I stop. Mr. James, I hate it. It absolutely irritates me when people say, "Oh, it's the West that is holding us." No, and I think it's a very misleading presentation, because at my age, there is nothing you can tell me that is adverse to my nation, or as a father that I am, there is nothing you will tell me that will be adverse to the well-being of my child, that will make me see you in a decent way. I will hate you. So it is our leaders. It's not the West. See, each country will always act in their own interest.
So,
if the UK or Europe, if they're engaging with Nigeria, they're not engaging with Nigeria based on charity basis. No. They are doing it because of their own benefit. It is left for you as a sovereign nation to protect yourself. Put your people first. And when it comes to things that do not work for your people, then you decline it immediately. Countries, more powerful countries will always try to exert influence, but they can only exert as much influence as you allow them. Do you understand? It is easy for Ukraine to say, oh, you know what, we'll give in to Russia. But no, for them, what they are protecting is there.
Okay.
So when will our leaders
thank you
against all odds and protect what is dear to us?
Well, you see.
Thank you. Yes, James, go ahead. But then, even Mr. James, I want you to also add to what he has raised a very, pertinent questions. I read that story of a certain woman eating, the police caught them. They were selling body parts, and she was caught. When they caught them, and to convince the police officer that these are not human meat, she cut part of it and put in her mouth and chewed it raw and ate. And said, see, I've just told you this is not human meat. I mean, this is, but eventually the hospital proved that, the lab proved that it was human meat. And in fact, it's even a lady's lab that she cut from to eat. Now, this is the situation we have found ourselves. A people that have found themselves in this situation, what stops them from going the extra mile to press in the government to give them what is required?
No, you see,
democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
No. Mr. KJ, the point I'm making is this. The whole of Africa, there's no country that is making any headway. Before the coming of the white man, Africans were not stupid. They had their kingdoms. You get the point? East Africa, South Africa, Central, they had their kingdoms. They had their political systems. Here in the Gambia where I live, there is an ethnic group they call the Jolas. They have no kings. They have no chiefs. They have a very funny, complex political system, which they fashioned for themselves. The English call them acephalous societies. And they are the most peaceful people, from my own assessment. Others might not agree with me. They are very, very peaceful and calm people. They hardly quarrel among themselves. That is a political system they fashioned for themselves. The point I want people to know is this. Why is it that when Africans produce a leader that is not thinking along the Western line, that leader will never know peace? Now look at Mr. Bola Tinubu's administration, riddled with unquantifiable corruption. Has the British government, American or whatever it is, ever uttered a statement? I don't mean British NGOs or organizations, the government of Britain. Have they ever chastised this man for the kind of things he's doing? The answer is no. But if it is Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, he will not know peace. Thomas Sankara was murdered because of the way they want to organize themselves. Look at the Sahelian states of today. What is it, Bazoum or Bahum they call him in the Niger Republic? The way he was mismanaging the country. They have uranium. Now, it is the duty of you to sell this uranium for the benefit of your people. You allow France to be taking everything virtually free, and you are getting free electricity from Nigeria. I hope you are getting me. You are getting free electricity from Nigeria, and the French use your uranium to power their powerhouses over there in France. So the white man, there's nothing wrong with that. This is the point I'm making. You cannot convince me that all Africans are stupid. No. Look at the Benin, for example. The artifacts, the metallurgy. That's metallurgy, if I'm not mistaken. KJ, can you correct me? Because they work with metals. Mm-hmm. The science behind what they are doing what they were doing as at 1897 when the British invaded them. These are things they study at Harvard today using calculus and what have you, differential equations, real analysis, numerical analysis, to do what those people were doing at ease. Who taught them those things? So you can't convince me that Africans don't know what is good for themselves. I mean, good for them. We don't know peace because of these people. You get the point? Now, whenever you want to organize election, they always insist that they are bringing observers. You've granted us independence. What is your fucking business in the way we organize our elections?
Okay, thank you. I want to come in there. And
now, please let me put in something
about. I want to ask you a question, so I can. The question is for you. The question is for you.
Okay.
Now, you said that, and I was trying to hold myself back, but I feel I should ask you. Why will it be my business to concern myself on how you decide to manage your house? If you decide to pack your money and give me, why should it be my business to tell you that you're bringing the money to me? Why should I be bothered?
Excuse me, the point I'm making is this. Murtala Mohammed came July 29, 1975, if I'm not mistaken, to remove a corrupt administration. Get the point? Now, some rascals decided to remove him from office. The day this man was killed, these rascals were at your place conspiring with you. I mean, it shows that Britain was interfering in the internal affairs of Nigeria. Get the point? The issue is this. I told my students something some time ago. Not until this so-called Western civilization collapse, Africans will not know peace. For Africans to get out of this problem, the Western civilization must grant to a total halt.
Okay.
Now let me elaborate just
Go ahead.
a few minutes. When I was a little boy, all the goods we were consuming in Benin City were imported from Britain. All the manufactured goods, none from China when I was a little boy in the 60s. That was a very huge market for, what called Britain. They had commercial houses like Kingsway stores, MacIver stores, and so many, John Holt, and you name it. This was a huge source of income for Britain. But now that countries like China, Japan, and others are catching up with the West, that free source of money is no longer forthcoming. This is where Chatham House comes in. When I talk of Chatham House, I don't mean our leaders going to there to discuss with people in the street. Chatham House is the same thing as the British government. This is the point I'm making. It's just like the British government coming to Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, that was formerly at Kofu Abayomi in Lagos, to discuss with the people there. It is as good as going to Dodon Barracks to discuss with Yakubu Gowon or whosoever it is. The West must learn to leave Africans in peace. Africa belongs to Africans. This is what the West seems not to realize. It's a pity majority of us are not grounded in African history. What we are going through in Nigeria is even a child's play compared to what the Zimbabweans are grappling with. South Africa, in about 20 or so years from now, will be like Nigeria. This is because of Western interference in their internal affairs. It's not we who are going there. Now, if we decide to change Bola Tinubu today and put Peter Obi there, if Peter Obi is not dancing to their tone, don't be surprised that he will be murdered, or he will be overthrown, or they will make the country ungovernable for him. This is the point I'm making.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. James. Sorry, I have a little distraction here. Okay, Righteous Man, welcome. You have heard our discussion so far. How do you want to intervene?
Yeah, KJ, just a minute. I'm about to leave. I wanted to greet Righteous Man. Righteous Man, welcome, okay?
All right.
Yeah, man of the sea. How are you doing?
I have a question for you before you leave. What are you saying now? One of the arguments, that they always put ahead is that, Davati, that, oh, he's gone. All right. Righteous Man, one of the things that pundits argue about that diversity in Nigeria, cultural diversity and ethnic differences and all that, language and as one of it, that there are the strengths that Nigerians are supposed to enhance to be able to foster a national unity. The people who say that go ahead to say that even in demanding for independence, it was a united front that Nigeria presented. But why has it become so difficult for that united front to be presented to our people now, vis-a-vis a good government for the people of Nigeria?
AJ, good evening from here. And the rest panelists, I see Oga James, and there's another person there, but I can't view it very well. Well, it's quite, in my lifetime, this is the worst independence celebration we have ever had. If you go to the streets of Lagos, there was no sign that a nation like Nigeria or a country like Nigeria is celebrating the most important event in her history. There's nothing to show, no physical thing you can see today in Lagos and say, oh, that country called Nigeria they are celebrating their independence. Nothing like that. People are mourning. The streets of Lagos were empty, not because they went for independence celebration, because of hardship. There is no fuel. The one you see is as cost as whatever any man can imagine. There is no road, no electricity. It's over 1 week now. We've not gotten electricity supply in my area. I'm in band A, and I use prepaid, not postpaid. There's no light now. The light I'm using here now is generator. I generate it myself, and it can work only for some hours. We use it to charge phone and listen to the news of the day, and then we off the gen because of the exorbitant nature of the PMS that we're having in Nigeria today. So back to your question, KJ. There have never been a united front in asking for independence from Great Britain. It is a miscalculation of history, or will I say a misplacement of history, for people to think there was a united front. Let me remind us that the South, made up of Southeast then, I mean the Eastern region and the Southwest region, were the only will I say semi-autonomous independent regions that were seeking for independence from Britain. The North said no, they were not ready, and they are not ready. In fact, they don't want to be part of it. It was Zeke, that convinced the North to be part of what we call today as Nigeria. And the British knew that the South educationally were ahead of the North, industrially, economically, and otherwise they were ahead of the North. And they needed the North in order to continue to have a right over this space called Nigeria. So they agreed with Zeke and the rest of the Southern Nigeria Protectorate, the people like Chief Obafemi Awolowo and the Nahoro and the rest of them. Okay, we'll give you this independence you are asking for, but the power will always remain in the North. There was a book I read, Why We Struck. When you read that book and read it deep, you will understand what they are calling Igbo coup is never an Igbo coup. It was to correct the influence of the Britain, of the British government over the new nation called Nigeria. So that error that was from the beginning have not been corrected up to today. There was no united front. The North, the South, and the East never came to a round table to agree that we want to form a nation. There was no agreement of that. Let also know or remember that in 1914, the amalgamation was done by Great Britain, not by a collective idea of the South and the North. The people they call the founding fathers of Nigeria today technically are not the founding fathers. Britain founded Nigeria, Britain created Nigeria, and Britain designed Nigeria to function the way Britain wants it to function. So we are still living on the basis of that structure that Britain left behind, because there was no common front, there was no unified idea of having a nation. We have not been able to create one from that one that Britain created. And that is why we're still having problem today. Just like I always say, and Dr. Franklin said was it last Saturday or last Sunday? I think it should be last Sunday, right? Dr. Franklin submitted what I have always been saying, that the liberation of Nigeria, I think should be between 70 or 75% of it, lie in the hands of Nigerians that are in diaspora. For we that are in Nigeria, we're a captured people. We're slaves to the political elite and business elite of the space called Nigeria. Where if you're a Nigerian and you're a common man and you are living in Nigeria today, you are technically a slave to the political elite and to the business elite that control the policies and formulate policies and decide what happens in this country. So, as it is, we are yet to have a nation created by black man or black men. We are yet to have a nation created by collective ideas, by our traditional ideas, by the riches of our customs and tradition. We've not been able to create a nation. We're still living on the basis of the creation of Great Britain. And then just like what my dear brother said, Mr. James, until the Western civilization crashes, it will be difficult for a black man or Africa to rise to the occasion, to be counted among equals in the Committee of Nations. It will be very difficult because the Western civilization of today had made Africans to be slaves. And technically, if Nigeria was working well, majority of Nigerians that are abroad today will not be in abroad. I remember in 1974, 75, my uncle sent his son to go and study in the US. And he was sending money from here to the US. And when his son finished school, he returned back to Nigeria to work. But can that be done today? Absolutely never. You see? So because at that time, you fly from London, from Lagos to London, I think it should be 80 naira or thereabout, or 50 naira. How much is it today? As at that time, naira was ahead of dollars. So many Nigerians that are in abroad today are there, not because they wish to be there. They are there because of the circumstances they have found themselves that Nigeria is not working. So Nigeria is not a collective idea.
Hold on. We'll come back to you, the righteous man. You've made a lot of points. Before we move on, I have an advice for a gentleman here.
I have nothing new to say.
People are hungry.
Let them die. It's their fault. Yeah, I'm supporting Tinubu 100%.
You're supporting Tinubu?
100% to deal with Nigerians. People like you. So that when next election comes, I will now see whether when people bring money, you will vote for them, or you will do your conscience.
Okay, Mr. James. Righteous Man has raised a lot of questions from his submission. So, how now do we go about? Because listen to what Mr. Galadima has said, and for him, he has come to a position where many Nigerians have come to, which is that, well, since you guys don't want us to get something better, whatever happens to you, let it happen to you. As for me and my family, we'll live on our own little that we'll have. Since people don't want us to have the collective that will be enough for everybody. Does that seem to be the same language that we hear from the streets of Nigeria?
You see, I don't see things exactly from this point of view. Because who voted for Mr. Tinubu? Who voted for Mr. Tinubu? Nobody. INEC who voted him to office. So why?
That is the question. Hold on, sir. That is the cross of the matter. If we didn't vote for Tinubu and he is there, what stops us from going and demanding from the system that this cannot hold? What was
So what is demanding from the system now? What is the outcome? They are locking up the boys. Since NSAS, people are still in prison. What else do you want them to do? To commit mass suicide? You get the point? So nobody voted for him. It is the system, the British government, the Western powers that want this guy to be there. That is why he's there. If the West don't want him to be there, they will remove him. I'm not saying, excuse me, please.
Okay, yes, we'll come back to you, Mr. James. Yes, Righteous Man. James will come back to you. Just take care of your business, we'll come back to you. All right. Yes, Mr. Righteous Man. You made a very useful point. Now, how do Nigerians go about to build a nation that can be equal? Is it that these indices will have, which is the tribes in Nigeria, of Nigeria is not able to sustain a nation? What is the problem?
I am a human, and as far as I remain, I am seeking for a superior authority that is above me. And so, directly or indirectly, I'm conscious of my religious belief and faith. In other words, I believe in the existence of the Almighty power, referred to as God. So, to the book that I equally read as pertaining to religion or belief or faith, the Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? So whether any man sees the Bible as a literature book, fine, but it makes sense. It's an ideological book that, kind of provides solution or an idea or creates awareness in the heart of man of what man should do and what he should expect. The foundation of Nigeria is a faulty one. And as long as it is faulty, it cannot move forward until what makes up Nigeria comes together, not by coercion, but by agreement that we want to create a nation from the nation that Britain created. And this is how we want this nation to be. If we do not do that, in the next 100 years, if Christ tarries, we will be worse than we are today. Because when I was in school, Nigeria was not this bad. When I traveled and returned back to Nigeria, Nigeria was not this bad. So Nigeria is not making progress. The reason is because of the foundation.
I agree with you that Nigeria is not making progress. Yes, Mr. James, you want to finish up?
Yes. those who are saying that it is those in the diaspora who should come and fix Nigeria, I think they are horribly wrong. Because while we were living, the good, the bad, and the ugly that were living at the same time. So here in the overseas or outside the country, it's not only those who are anti-government that are here. We have people here too who are pro-government, who are monitoring people's activities and reporting to the authorities at home. That Mr. X is born in Germany, Mr. X in Wellington in what we call in New Zealand, Mr. This in Buenos Aires in Argentina, they're up to X. There are people monitoring people's movement. So it is not true that it is those in the diaspora who will fix the country. And also, there are people who have been invited in the past, even at present, to join them in forming government in Nigeria. They've been holding key positions here and there. Some live in the States, some live in Europe. What impact are they making? They are integral part of the system. So being a diaspora does not mean that you are automatically a saint. It doesn't follow.
Okay, I want to ask a question. But basically, within this confinement, I remember one of Wole Soyinka's writings those days called is it Abiku? He says at the end of the poetry, the poem, he says the lady was complaining that the house is a thatch house and all that is leaking and all that. He said, but even in this thatch house, you were brought up, silver spoons have come up from it. Now, is it not also possible for us to say that even in the midst of all that, Nigeria have been able to produce great men like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, Mary Onyale, the great Innocent Egbonike, people like J.J. Okocha, Segun Odegbami, Tijani Yusuf, and all great men and women who have, through their personal strives, have brought glory to Nigeria as a nation.
Good. Now
that is what is working for us. There's no way that government can harness this good activity, this good will of the people, and bring it now for
How many names did you mention just now? I could count something close to 10. Among all these 10, it's only one from the north you mentioned. All the others were either from the west or the south, or the east. Am I wrong?
No.
So it means fundamentally there's something wrong with the north.
I will no. Now, if you say something wrong with the north, I will.
You see, when we mention great names in Nigeria, maybe at random, you mentioned Segun Odegbami, J.J. Okocha, what we call Emmanuel Okala, Kiliwi Wanchuku, Dick Tiger, and all these are majority of them are southern based, with very, very few from the north. And they are saying that they are more, the population of the north. The population of the north is more than that of the south. So why is it that the minorities are excelling while majority of the majority are unable to make their mark?
Okay, this is what I would say, because even in the north, you have the people, great musicians like Mama Shatta, Damara Jos, the great Two-Face, and what's the other guy's name from Jos? I mean, we used to know that Jos and Macaulay were of creativity. So what I'm trying to say is that there are certain things that worked over the years in Nigeria as a nation.
Look,
why has the eyes of the government not been open to utilize these places as
the West as an example? The Western Nigeria, I'm not a Yoruba man, we were formerly part of the West. Western Nigeria, in my opinion, is better organized than any other part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how they organize themselves. They have everything it takes to make a country. The universities, the roads, the ministries, the schools, the seaports, airport, everything it takes to make a country, they have it intact. If the country should break up today, there will be least among those who will worry about the new dispensation. This is because of the effort of one man who pursued education vigorously. Now look at the East. Through personal effort, personal achievement, because I understand that among the Igbos, they only respect achievers. So for you to command respect, you just have to do something spectacular, not necessarily becoming a millionaire. Somebody like Ojukwu, for example, Francis Akano Ibiam, I think if I'm not mistaken, the first Igbo medical officer. What's this man's name? Michael Okpara. These were not millionaires as such, but they were achievers in their own way. You get the point I'm making? So, but lumping everybody together and say you are Nigeria, must we be Nigerians? This is the point I'm making. If not for the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, this country wouldn't have been in existence. So where do we stand? I mean, so fundamentally we are Africans, but fundamentally we are not Nigerians. It is the white man who made you and me Nigerians. I can relate very well with you as an African. Whenever I'm traveling to any part of the world, I'm attracted to Africans, but not Nigerians. So
Okay.
that concept called Nigeria is too artificial. And
Okay.
this is what is troubling most African countries today.
Thank
not
you.
only
Thank you so much. I have a question for Righteous Man, of which you're also going to weigh in. Righteous Man, if you this is not who you are, but assuming that you have a child and your girlfriend comes to give the child a name, is that what you're going to be? And when you realize that the name given to your son was from your girlfriend. In other words, Nigeria, some people hold so fast to the name Nigeria because they say it sounds good, it's okay. But we all know that the name Nigeria came from Flora Shaw's, who was a girlfriend of Lord Lugard, whom by the grace of God I was able to go to Lord Lugard's, where she actually lived. I did a documentary there in Lokoja on the hill, looking over the River Niger and River Benue at where it was, the confluence. Now, why do I say that? I'm trying to say that we all know that the reason why the name Nigeria was given was because she thought about it as the black people's area, the Negro area. Why are we holding fast to the name and not agreeing to do away with the name, just like Burkina Faso did away with the Upper Volta, just like Ghana did away with the Gold Coast, just like Benin Dahomey did away with Benin did away with Dahomey and became Benin. Why are we holding on to a colonial name called Nigeria?
KJ, before I will answer that question, for the first time, let me disagree on some aspects of what my brother, Mr. James, alluded to, and at any time when I'm in any space and this wrong history is being told or shared, I try as much as possible to shed some light to correct it. The Yorubas never developed the Southwest. Never. The capital of Nigeria, people forgot, was formerly the international airport in Lagos today was built by the federal government of Nigeria, not by the state region, not by a The Tinkan Island seaport was developed by the federal government of Nigeria. All the superstructures that you have in Lagos today, the National Stadium, I think built 1972 or 1971, National Theatre, Race Cross, Nitel, Federal Palace Hotel, all those things were federal government projects that they used the money from coal, and palm oil, and cocoa, and somehow the little oil then from crude oil, crude oil, because it was not too much in commercial quantity that time. They have not discovered many wells. They use it in building Lagos. Alluding to it that one man single-handedly developed the Western region, that's Lagos in particular, and they have all it takes to become a country because they have seaport Awolowo never developed the seaport in Lagos. It was the project of the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay.
The international airport is never developed by him. So to your question now, back to your question, I just want to make that correction because I know many people are listening and people will listen there. Now back to your question. Nigeria.
Okay. Your network is breaking.
For what?
Your network.
Okay,
Go
can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, now, yeah.
The girlfriend of Longlugard, Flora Shaw, that named this place Niger area, Nigeria. Okay, who is that Flora Shaw? Is she not a Briton? Is she not? If she's not a Briton, is she not a Westerner? So everything about Nigeria came from Britain, and they will do everything to make sure that that name still exists. Because to be honest, if we have really woken up as Black people, just like you have cited example, Upper Volta was changed, Gold Coast was changed, Cotonou Dahomey was changed, and the rest of it. Why can't Nigeria change this name? Because the colonial master who gave us this name through their girlfriend, you know, do not want this name to go out because it's to their credit. It's like paying them a homage each time we mention that name Nigeria. So that is the difficult thing there. And because of lack of unity, we are not united in idea. We don't have a national dream we are pursuing as a people. There is no way we can come together to agree that the name should be changed.
Okay. Thank you.
That's just my answer to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
May I respond?
You want to weigh in? Yes. And then I'll come to you, Mr. Oti. You're welcome.
Now, when I say that the West have
Good
got
evening, everyone.
everything they need, when I say the West have got everything they need to make a country, I did not infer that they built these things by themselves. Awolowo contributed. Let me go into history a little bit. When slave trade was abolished, officially in Britain in 1807, there were a lot of destitute slaves in the streets of Britain. So the British government eventually decided to relocate them to Sierra Leone. That's how they formed Freetown. Majority of them were lumped there. But the slave trade was still going on. The Portuguese, the Spaniards, and other countries, they were still involved in it. So any ship carrying slaves passing through British territorial waters was being, stopped by the British Navy, and majority of those rescued were sent to Sierra Leone. That is one of the reasons why there are so many ex-slaves who have Yoruba ancestry in Sierra Leone, especially an area they call the Furabe community, east end of Freetown. Now, when they got there, people like Bishop Ajayi Crowder and others who came from Britain and the captives, they were able to retrace their steps back to Nigeria. They went back home. Most of them got to Lagos. They introduced Western education in Nigeria. It's not Awolowo. Awolowo only made the platform and he built on it. So they produced the first lawyers, the first doctors, the first teachers and others, Western Nigeria. That is how they used their influence to, should I say, they were able to have influence over the white man to make their capital. If not, places like Calabar was a very good candidate. Hope Waddell Institute, I understand, was the first secondary school in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. That place would have been a very good capital as well. But they were able to use, let me finish. They were able to use their influence to, locate the capital there. And while the capital was in Lagos, they knew how to play their games. They were able to manipulate the federal government to develop that area called Lagos. It was during Murtala Mohammed's time they took the decision sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but he was part of those who took the decision
You're
that
right.
the capital should be
You're right.
moved from Lagos to Abuja, a centrally located place.
Yeah.
So it is the federal government actually who built Western Nigeria. But that apart, if you look at the way they organize themselves, they are the most urbanized Nigerians. They have more big cities than any other Nigerian, than most other parts of Nigeria. They have more big cities. They have quite a lot of secondary schools. Of course, as far as education is concerned, Awolowo built on the foundation of Ajayi Crowther and other Yorubas who came from Freetown. This pidgin English we speak today, they brought it from Freetown. Here in the Gambia, where I live, they also have their own variety of pidgin because most of the Freetonians, they also relocated to the Gambia. So they modified their pidgin, which I understand. And in Nigeria, we also modified ours. But the original home of pidgin English is Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Okay.
That is why a word like potopoto, potopoto, that is mud.
Yeah.
Yes. In Sierra Leone, in the Gambia, Nigeria, Ghana, potopoto is mud. The word they got it from Congo. It's a Congolese word. The slaves they took from Congo on their way through West African waters, they were liberated and settled in Freetown. So that language, the Creole language in Freetown, was developed using Yoruba syntax. And they adulterated English with a lot of African words. That is how the language came about. I'm not disputing what you are saying totally, but the Yorubas, they played their card very well.
Thank you.
The federal government invested
Thank you.
massively
Thank
in
you.
Western Nigeria.
Now,
they have all it takes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope our viewers are learning a lot. But let's move forward because we have 1 hour 30 more minutes. This broadcast is going to be for 3 hours, and yes, Mr. Oti, you are welcome. It is said that one of the challenges of Nigeria as a nation is leadership. They say because a country with weak institutions, ineffective governance, and lack of accountability amongst leadership of that nation is bound to go nowhere. In other words, it's dog eat dog. Do you see that after 64 years and we're still playing at the ferry? Well, we have not even entered the main arena. We're still at the ferry. Is there will this nation we are looking at be built in this generation at all?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Righteous man, I salute Mr. James and KJ, Anchorman. Now, leadership. Yes, I mean leadership is important. Is vital. I mean, discussing the topic of Nigeria, where we are and where we could possibly be heading. I think it's useful we remind ourselves that this is we are in our third outing. It's third republic, is it not? Because we had the first republic, second, and then this is a third one, and from every indication, it doesn't seem to be working. So what's going to happen next? Yes, leadership. Leadership does not. I mean, important as it is, it's really for any kind of human enterprise or organization, leadership is everything. But then you also have to have the people to lead, followership. And when you cannot have the followership, even leadership with the best intentions, I think still it may not work. And looking at Nigeria, how is that followership composed? Is it possible? Can Nigerians, people that call themselves Nigerians, the peoples of Nigeria, I think the first challenge is really having a common purpose, bringing the people together. That hasn't happened, and there's no indication that is ever going to happen. So, where does that lead? Where does that leave us? Now, I mean, our third republic, and then we have this crop of leaders, politicians. Do you think, looking at them, the way they behave, the way they act, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see, none of them, or very few perhaps, seem to have any kind of a vision, much less articulating it, to command that required followership. Now, my honest opinion, at least from what I have seen, especially from the last general election in Nigeria, and some elections that have come after that, I can't see any hope, quite frankly, and it does appear that it's not going to work, and really, because look, think about it, and then the people in the house, the houses of assembly, National Assembly, the House of Reps and the Senate, that thinking about amending the Constitution. So, what is their commitment? What do they really believe in Nigeria and the people of Nigeria? Do they want to move the country forward, or is it not still the politicking? This kind of game playing. People trying to really working for their advantage, one way or the other, and not really thinking about this kind of national project. So, which nobody believes. Okay, so without that belief, the best thing perhaps for people of Nigeria is to really begin to think, we shouldn't be afraid of anything. I mean, the peoples of Nigeria, I'm using this, really to describe the various nationalities, because even before independence, the struggle for nationhood wasn't just about Nigeria alone, Nigeria as a country, but the various peoples of Nigeria, they also, they had their own nationalist struggles, expressions. Maybe they they also fought as nations, even while fighting for, or rather, even while they struggle for Nigerian independence or the nationhood was going on. The people of the East, people of the West, the minorities in the North, the same thing. So really, in a way, pay us better to kind of have and how it comes about, it doesn't matter. We'll draw back, go back, and then have a better understanding ourselves. I mean, okay, we can then with better governance, because it's really a matter of practice. It's not going to be much easier, say for example, for people of the East, people of the West, okay, as a people with their common value system, to kind of have it's just a matter of it's going to be easier, a lot easier for them to govern themselves, come together, and discipline themselves, and then build a nation, a country. So these countries or nations can still come together, can still work together, can still be united. Can be United States of United Nations forever, But this thing, Nigerian, it's not working. It's not working. And after 64 years, I don't know where we're going.
Thank you, Oti. I just wanted you to learn, but you have gradually driven me to my next question, which will be going to Mr. Jagu. Jagu, you're welcome. A famous American president once said, "It will be a republic if you can keep it." In other words, every generation has to fight its own fight to either retain what it has found or to build a different level from what they have been able to inherit. In this situation, can you boldly say that Nigeria is a republic operating with democratic principles? And have we been able to keep what was given to us?
Thank you. Good evening, KJ. And good evening, the rest of the panelists. Good evening, audience, as it stands. Thank you for putting on this show today. Before I come to that very complex question, but a very apt question, I want to underline something that Righteous Man has retorted against what our brother, Mr. James, reiterated firstly. Now, I think, you know, in terms of nation building, it's funny where evidence of a reality has been explained, and yet still, because positively somebody mentions a ethnic group, there is almost what looks like to me, because I didn't really understand what you were saying, I didn't think it was at all necessary, Righteous Man. And then you come in to say that these people were not the people who made it conducive for Lagos to become the capital, and they had a Western region that was largely built up in such a way that there was interconnectivity through roads, through townships, into the villages. And this was working. And to not salute those who made that atmosphere possible, not just for themselves, but for others to come in, I think it's cheap. I think it's cheap of you to take it away. I think it not be Nigerian of you to take it away. I think it be sword fencing unnecessarily. I think it be another level of pride and boastfulness from a certain region of the country. So, having said that, my brother KJ, I'll come to answer your question. Nigeria, unfortunately, if we are honest, is not a country, nor is it a nation. As much as we've been, over the last 60 odd years, fighting to bring it to that point, we have indeed inherited a great deal of wealth by way of culture, by way of respect in certain ways. Sometimes when I look at Nigeria and the horrors that it's been through, I suspect other countries with a different set of people, that place would have blown up into deepest violence on a regular basis. It would have been like Israel, Palestine. But it's not. As bad as it is not that. And again, I feel that Nigerians need to kind of salute themselves, because it's the Nigerian people that somehow have kept it like that, more so than the authorities. So, is it doable? Is what you're saying? Because what we are in the midst of right now, generationally, as you clearly underline, generationally, I believe our generation have received a great lump from the previous generations in order to organize and fix before it gets to the generation of our children. And that is a lot to appreciate in terms of the hard work it's going to be. Me as an individual, I think I've got 5 to 10 years kind of left in terms of mind space and thinking about this subject and being able to physically work my part and offer it to our nation. You know, and that's stretching it, because really I'm supposed to be completely retired, I believe, by now. I don't need to chase money. But I'm still not at that point completely. So, you know, the way I see it, I've got my experience to offer. I've got my gifts to offer. And when speaking on a platform like this, I see a lot of us who are skilled in various industries and various disciplines. And I feel that somehow we have to galvanize that individual strength that we have in the diaspora across the world, and indeed in Nigeria, and put it to organizational wealth. that we now augment these necessary changes before it's the time of the next generation. I put it that way.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I wanted to come back. I want to ask you a question, but let me go to Mr. James before coming back to you. Mr. James, yes, the question now I put to you also is what I put to Jagun. Have we been able to maintain? Is it a republic? And are we operating democracy? And have we been able to harness our good side and bring to national development? Or are we just grabbing around the bush, like blind men, just using our legs to look for, where the orange or is on the ground? Is it that we're just grabbing, darkness, shadow boxing as they call it, without necessarily knowing where we are going? No national ethos, no national dream, nothing to bring us together. Even the national youth service corps, which was supposed to be able to bring the youth together and Nigerians to together, it has now become also segmented and all that. In fact, if you take the national youth service call letter and you spin it around, you will see where it's written that you cannot be rejected. Okay, but all the offices in Nigeria, including the presidency, rejects corpus. Your question be, just like they've said, we have issues with law, we have issue with leadership, we have issue with corruption, we have issues with, if we have all these issues, then just like Jogu said, that simply means we have not been able to, we're not a nation and we're not a country. Do you agree with that assertion?
Yeah, to some extent. But you see, when I was growing up as a little boy, the country had focus, not the nation, because Nigeria has never existed as a nation. The country had focus. In Western Nigeria, where I grew up, I'm from Midwest, education was our focus because somebody promised us, if you give me your vote, all I need from you is your vote. Just give me your vote, leave your education for me, I will take care of it. And he was able to accomplish that. Then at federal level, internationally, we made our mark in war against apartheid and colonialism. We made our mark. Then also at federal level, we found it necessary to build a steel complex at Alaja. It was functioning. I saw it myself. I remember I took my students there on a field trip when I was a youth corper at Edo College in Benin City. That steel complex was functioning. They were producing steel billets. We found it necessary to build a petrochemical industry. We found it necessary to build refineries. We laid pipelines from the south to Kaduna Refinery, Oshogbo Steel Rolling Mill, Jos Steel Rolling Mill, Katsina Steel Rolling Mill. We build airports. All these are infrastructures for development, water supply, electricity, you name it. We were on course. But somehow along the line, we derailed catastrophically. And the amount of destruction we've done to ourselves is so horrible that I believe it's going to take more than a generation to correct the errors. Because it's very easy to damage, but to repair, it's not as easy as causing damage. So this is how I see it. Nigeria is not a country, as the gentleman rightly pointed out, let alone being a nation. I told you on this platform why I left Nigeria. It's a very long story. I don't know if I'll be able to summarize it. I was badly treated. I received free education at all levels. I never paid school fees in my whole life in Nigeria, even at university level. But when it was time for me to be employed as a lecturer at University of Sokoto, I was reminded that I was born in Ondo State, that I cannot get a job in a federal university in Sokoto, that I should try maybe the West, probably being that you were born in the West, you might get something to do there. If not, the ideal place for you is Bende State. It was at that point I decided to make up my mind to leave the country. My father was not happy about it. He said, just keep on trying. Luck will shine your way, did that. I listened to him. Now, I attended Arinze Primary School at a time in Benin City. Now, my father used this connection to see if they can give me a job to do as a teacher in any school. So at the ministry, they told him, at Arinze Primary School, we can find something for him to do. That is somebody holding a master's degree from a Nigerian university. They will find something for him to do at Arinze Primary School because that is his alma mater at the time. I agreed because I was desperate to get a job. One day, my father returned from work and called me, said, my boy, I'm sorry. You have to leave the country. I now see it from a point of view. I asked him why. He said, those people are helping you to get a job at Arinze Primary School are telling me to come and join a secret society before they give you the job. He said, that I cannot do. So you have to leave. So he gave me money. I entered the motor car from Benin to Lagos, from Lagos to Badagry. That's how I continued traveling till I got to Monrovia. When I got to Monrovia at number 52 Center Street in Monrovia, these are Ladura Church people. They have a school there. That was where I got my first job with a master's degree to teach geography and mathematics at St. Samuel's High School. So that is how I left the country. What I went through is unspeakable. A majority of those who left after me even went through more horrendous situations in the country. So Nigeria is not a country, neither is it, what's it called, a nation. It's even dignifying at times when I refer to it as a country. It's a conglomeration of tribes.
KJ, can I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, and of course anybody can answer the question because he talks about the country, the derailment. I just wonder if he could put his finger on when, or what caused derailment, because we can talk, kind of in global terms, talk about maybe collapse of value, okay, but when and what caused this loss of direction, loss of vision?
Yeah,
James, do you have an idea, or does anybody?
Yeah,
Because if we don't understand the cause of the problem,
yeah,
we can't really.
That's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. The point in time where it started. I don't want to rely on written. I don't want to rely on literature in answering your question. But when I was a little boy, I knew very little what was happening in Nigeria. The Civil War met me as a little boy. Then after the Civil War, that was when I went to high school and I continued to know my left from right. So I noticed that during Yakubu Gowon's time, people were complaining bitterly that things are getting bad. But I could not understand what they were talking about. The man was severely criticized. I remember when the government was toppled, they nearly cut off Ogbemudia's head. And he turned out to be the best governor the state ever had. But the decline started after the end of the Civil War, from what I can see. Then Shagari's administration escalated it, in fact, astronomically. When you have people like Akinloye, Uba Ahmed, Marodiko, and others, it escalated, it was horrendous. Corruption was horrendous during Shagari's administration. But Yakubu Gowon did his best to curtail the excesses. If you read Wole Soyinka's The Man Died, he complained about corruption in foreign embassies, the high-handedness of the military dispensation. That's one of the themes he addressed in that book. I see, from my own point of view, I might not be 100% correct. It started slowly during Yakubu Gowon's time, then the momentum skyrocketed during Shagari's administration.
I see. KJ, if you'll allow me just a minute, perhaps this, maybe following from what you said, I can offer this thesis. Could it not be that because at the end of the war really never came to an end. The war was never really, you fight a war, such, the experience and the kind of a reconciliation. look, because the spiritual governs the physical. Okay, people that died in the war and all the pain and everything on every side. Perhaps the country, the peoples of Nigeria never really, up to now, have not quite come to terms with, I mean, the gravity of of a human suffering. That's the war cost, and perhaps remember the dead, right? In a respectful manner, honor their memory, their suffering. Okay, so if it could well be. It's just if in our kind of loss of direction, or this kind of started. Okay, of course, the war followed from the military intervention in politics. So perhaps we really have to go back to this time, this epoch, okay, to begin to cure the ills of Nigeria. Otherwise, we just kind of
There are certain illnesses that you cannot cure. They are incurable. For example, cancer. For now, cancer has no cure. So anybody who is infected with that disease called cancer, is as sure as the sun will rise that is going to die of cancer.
If I can quickly,
so corruption in Nigeria is cancerous. It's cancerous.
Okay.
A father can go to bed with the daughter. If a mother can go to bed with the son for certain important reasons known to them, that is the level we've degenerated to so far. In Benin City, when I was growing up, if an unmarried girl to get pregnant in the father's house is a taboo. I mean, it was a taboo in Benin City in those days.
All right.
The father was so angry that...
Come in, KJ, come in, bro.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I've heard both arguments, and I want to dwell on the part. Yeah, I can see your hand, righteous man, but I'm moving. Let's take it one after the other. Mr. Jagun, you heard Otis' response, and one of what Otis is saying is actually at a higher realm for those who are spiritually minded. Some people have given the theory that the issue of light in Nigeria could be spiritual, because where there's no light, darkness covers the whole place. Some people have also said that because they mistakenly said that Ogun is the god, the symbol of NEPA used to be the guy with the iron hammer, and that's the reason, because that it represents. At the time, it was Obasanjo who brought that right from their court, which whatever it were, I mean, I don't know, I can't quote that. But what they're simply saying is that these things are spiritual. Could it also be that these things are really spiritual? The people who lost their life during the civil war have not been appeased, put at rest? Or is it that we are just, a people who are refused to make a development for our people because we are...
I feel I know how to answer this question, given the to-in and fro-in between James and Oti earlier, which was inclusive. And your question. When we speak on a spiritual realm, I would agree with some of what Oti has said. However, if we are speaking about a spiritual realm and we understand lives, suffering, death, humiliation, and all the mishmash that we go through as Nigerians, especially if we're living in Nigeria, then I'm afraid we're going to have to count every other thing as well, not just the Civil War. The Civil War, I would completely agree with Oti that it has not been given the respect of resolving the pain of that war against Nigeria as a whole, and particularly against the Igbo. It is a moving forward without paying any due diligence. Or I mean, where is Biafra Day? Where is the day for Nigeria to salute its lost heroes, one way or the other, no matter what side you're on? It's the people died, and we're still existing within that mainframe to which they died. Yet we do not recognize it. I 100% agree. But as we move forward in this thing called Nigeria, and we look left and right, we're just seeing pain and suffering as the status quo has always depicted. So, as they don't care a damn about Biafra and the war and saluting that time and period in our political growth, we still don't do that for anybody else's life. There is no value or care in that country on a whole scale. You cannot pick up one thing against another, almost. All you can do is depict. So the question that is before us is, how do we change this? Because as I say, you pick up any one subject. The question I ask as to when it began to rot. It began to rot before it was built. It was rotting before 1960. Let's not get it twisted. As much as it was a much happier place, it was more looking like Somerset in the UK than Lagos, Nigeria necessarily. But the reality is now before all of us in terms of what it really looks like to be a Nigerian. And to me, and I think to most of us on the panel, it doesn't smell well. It doesn't look right. As a critique on Nigeria, I would say it looks pretty ugly.
Okay.
Unwelcoming.
Thank you.
And I would like to see a change because I know it is beautiful.
I agree.
As the world to offer. So yeah, that's how I would put that. All right.
Thank you. Righteous man, you heard that you're a righteous man from a righteous point. And so what will you say? Yes, because at this point, tell the truth, I will like, there was a time, remember, I was small, but I read the newspaper at that time, that Obasanjo said, look, if they are not going to allow apartheid to be ended in Nigeria and South Africa, let them use the Ogboni people to go there and deal with them, So is it? Yes, is there? I read in the newspaper. In fact, that time it was. Is it to publish something? Not one of the papers were not. Now, is it time for us to go spiritual in the things war in Nigeria, or do we still continue to play at the periphery while we're?
Yeah, KJ and the rest of the panelists, the people that just joined now, Ferrari, Jagu, and the rest. Thank you very much. You see, I've always maintained one thing. That thing is, one, I hate distorting history for whatever reason. Two, if we do not get history right, we will continue to make the mistakes we have made. Okay? Why am I saying this? If you look at Abuja today as the federal capital of Nigeria, federal capital territory, or Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are not going to say the Northerners developed Abuja. And I want to be quoted correctly. I am not talking of education. I'm not saying that Awolowo did not try to bring free education. I didn't say so. But saying that Lagos was developed by the southwestern region is a capital lie. Because we have in government...
It's unnecessary.
Hold on, Jagu.
No,
Jagu, hold on. Jagu, hold on. There is what is called special budget. That special budget is allocated for every capital city of any nation, different from other states. Now, the airport that is built in Abuja, you will tell tomorrow, historians will go and tell the Northerners that you are the one that built it. It is the federal money that was used in developing Abuja, and that was exactly what happened in Lagos State. And in 1914, when the Southern Protectorate and the North was amalgamated, Remember that Calabar was the capital of the Southern Protectorate before the amalgamation. And after the amalgamation, he moved to Niger State for a while, then moved down to Lagos.
You see, my brother.
And so hold on.
Let me just give this to you.
Because if you go to the comment section,
let me give this to you. Let me give this to you.
Jagu, you've been talking before. I didn't interrupt you. Hold on, I didn't interrupt you. Can you allow me to say my word?
No,
please.
A federal capital, my brother. A federal capital is just that, a federal capital. It is built by the nation of the people. You arguing that Lagos is a federal capital is known to us. You don't have to repeat things that are plain and give it so much rhetoric. All it speaks of is your bias towards just lending the understanding to what was said before as regard the Western region. That's what you are doing. We know what you are saying is plain to us. It's schoolboy stuff. I don't come here to listen to schoolboy stuff.
Jagu, listen to me.
My brother,
Jagu, listen to me. Jagu, listen to me. Ibadan was the capital of the Western region, not Lagos.
You're giving things I know.
You need to be school to understand. Lagos have never been the capital of the Western region. It was Ibadan. Lagos is the federal capital of Nigeria before it moved down to Abuja. And so the development of Lagos was the federal capital, federal money. It was not a regional money. It was not a regional money. And you have to understand it. It was not a regional money. So don't say that the development of Lagos was a regional money. If you say the development of Ibadan was a regional money, I agree with you. Because that was the capital of the Western region. And Lagos is the capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria until it moves to Abuja. So don't distort information and don't distort history. So back to the issue we are talking about, back to the issue of spirituality and no spirituality. Yes, spirituality and no spirituality. After all, when you look at the world economy, Google it. As at 1960s, the Eastern region had the best economy, the fastest growing economy in the world. Is there. So what are you talking about? I hate distorting information. Let's call a spade a spade. So the issue of Nigeria, somehow, me personally, if we are saying we should appease the dead, when the livings are hungry and angry, the dead does not manage economy. It is the living that manages economy. It is the living that creates good roads and build institutions. It's not the dead. If we are trying to appease the dead while the livings are not living well and they are angry and bitter, I don't think appeasing the God will solve the problem. After the war, have the living be reintegrated into the main affairs of Nigeria? That is the question. Because it is the living that champions development, it's not the dead. So as long as the Southeast have not been integrated into the mainstream affairs of this country, then appeasing the gods in order to make Nigeria work cannot work, because it is only the living that champions development, not the dead.
All right, thank you so much, righteous man. You have brought a righteous end to it. I said you are going to come on the righteous spot. Now I'm coming to Mr. Ferrari. Mr. Ferrari, you're welcome. Righteous man have said that the living are not even getting a bono and a goosey to chop. And we're talking about appeasing the dead and have died and gone. Well, that is because we as Africans sometimes we agree that there's an unseen world which we all can attest to in our communities. But however, from your own point of view, like before you came, I know you've been listening to the discussion. One famous American president said, "It is a republic if you can keep it." And democracy is supposed to be a government of people, by the people, and for the people. Do you think that we have been able to keep a republic and that this is also a government of the people? After 64 years, can you beat your chest and say we have made a mild progress, even if you say democracy is only our achievement?
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? To your question, KJ, I don't believe in answering questions that we all know the answer to. Every one of us on this panel knows the answer to that question. But I want to use this medium to at least say the following things, that the truth matters. And when it comes to Nigeria, the truth has not made its way to the public space. Now, public spaces cannot become genuinely political spaces without a meeting of human beings on both human and humane terms. On both human and humane terms, they cannot become genuine political spaces. Denigration and expectability are poor grounds on which to build a polity and a praxis of freedom. Deep down, every liberationalist is an optimist hoping for freedom. Nigeria says it's celebrating 64 independence, but it has never been truly free. And as all of us continue with our thoughts and as we continue to participate in this continued cry to the present and to the future, and as we call for a conscientious commitment to truth in this continued struggle for freedom, which we don't have. Because freedom in itself, it's a long way to freedom, a very, very long way. And the sad reality of our situation is that we have not even started. At 64, Nigeria is a deadly poison that drives out anything good from its territory. When Nigeria happens to you, Nigeria does something to you. It transforms you. It damages something vital in you. It destroys something essential. It transforms something good to bad. It kills the living conscience and it eviscerates the soul. Nigeria, it conquers the joy and the life of the living, and it literally kills the humanity in a man, turning him or her into the army of the dead, a zombie. You see, it happens to all. It don't matter your tribe, east, west, north, south, central. Nigeria kills a man and turns him into a night walker from the Game of Thrones. And the man in him, once living, is now dead and is now a risen soldier that fights for the Night King. This is what happens when Nigeria happens to you. You all might argue from here till tomorrow, but one thing is clear. This your political dispensation, whether it is the APC, PDP, Labour, or any of the other 17 or 18 other political parties, are doing nothing but are raising the army of the dead. And they are doing it on a daily basis for the Night King to fight and destroy the living and wipe out mankind in Nigeria. Indeed, as we look up to the sky and watch out for the weather, winter is indeed coming to Nigeria. And that's what we should be more concerned about. Let us not fool ourselves as to whether we have democracy or not. We all know the answer to that. And if those who are behind the shadows think that we do, I say more grace to their elbow. Let them continue to deceive themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. Mr. Ferrari says we all know the answer to the question. And so Nigeria has not been able to come together to answer that question that we all know. Maybe, Pastor, can you give us Can you give us your own understanding why Nigerians know the answer and yet we are refusing to pick up the answer and make our countries good? Because I don't think I didn't ever plan to live in the West. I mean, but circumstances brought me here, at the time I didn't want. So in a way, he is correct. Not all of us. I like the breeze in my community. I have a big odara tree in my compound where we sit, and coconuts, and oranges everywhere. You get fresh pawpaw from the tree. Every morning we sit after taking tea, we bring it down and all enjoy ourselves. But here we're eating food we don't even know how they are produced. So, to a large extent, do you think that we know the answers and yet we are living in diaspora?
Of course, we know the answers to our problem. I will just take it from Otis' point of view that says the spiritual governs the physical. So let's imagine that Tinubu stands up today during his speech and he says we now remember the soul of those who have died during the civil war and everything. And magic, every Nigeria will just become America because Tinubu has acknowledged the souls of those that are dead. Yes, the spiritual governs the physical, but what is the spiritual? What is spiritual? Spiritual is you and I telling each other the truth. You don't go up in the sky there or go to God and bring it. No. Spiritual is you and I acting justly towards each other. That is what it means for the spiritual to govern it. The spiritual is when you see your fellow man, in trouble, just the way Nigeria is, and the leaders now see to themselves and say, no, this is wickedness that we are doing to our own fellow human being. Then we have a change of heart. But the idea that they have to appease the dead or whatever it is will bring a change to Nigeria. There was war in America some years back. Even the 9/11, a lot of people died, but America still keep developing. It is just outright wickedness. So if we're going to go on that spiritual aspect, then we need to put it in context. If my people that are called by my name shall and turn from their wicked ways, it's wickedness that we're experiencing in Nigeria. Some of us were part of this wickedness. I try to stay in that line that some of us contributed to that wickedness before we left the shore of Nigeria. So we must not take ourselves away from it if we're part of it. And as they say, the change must start with me, must start with you, must start with every one of us. But that idea that, the spiritual governs the physical and appease the dead, and we're going to have electricity and going to work in 1,000,000 years. Never. So we have to start with not just to tell each other the truth, to act the truth. That is where we'll start to see a change from the leaders to the people, from the people to the leader. It doesn't matter how old Nigeria is. It makes no difference to me if Nigeria is 64 years and found its ways or found its roots. If we want to change it, like I think the speaker that was here on Saturday, if I'm correct, he said, no, it wasn't the speaker on Saturday, it was another speaker that in 2 years or 3 years, if we have good leadership, there will be this change in Nigeria in a space of 2 or 3 years because Nigerians all over the world are making names for themselves. They are in position of authority. They are trusted, put in position of authority. So that is the kind of thing we need back at home. But we must not go in this. Let me round up with this. Most of you are familiar with the story of Nehemiah. who had the destruction of Jerusalem. He didn't just pray. He went to Jerusalem to rebuild it. That is the spiritual controlling the physical. He didn't say, let me pray only. He went there and rebuilt Jerusalem. And that is what is required for us to rebuild the nation.
Okay.
There was war in Japan. There was war in China. I'm not an historian. Historians will agree with me. But they are developed today. And people are still dying there every day. So I yield the floor back to you, KJ. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I come to you, Tony. Tony, okay. I come to you because the pastor has taken it to a point that I want you to come in. And that is that Nigeria, as it is now, if we want to develop, we'll know what to do and every other thing. Do you think that the present crop of leadership or political structure is going to give us that, lead us to, the place that we want to go to? Or it's just Nigeria? There's this thing we do, when you go to the theater, you're going to a theater, that whatever is going to be done is not true, but you willingly give your own consent that you want to be deceived for the next 1 hour. Is that what we are doing in Nigeria? Is it a willful suspension of disbelief? That's what we call it in theater. When you walk into a theater to watch it, or you put a film, you slot the film, you know that whatever they're going to do in the next 1 hour is not reality, but you allow yourself to be taken in that ride. Is that what we're doing in Nigeria? I can't hear you. You're muted, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thank you for inviting me here, allowing me to be in the platform, and then thank you to the pastor. I heard all he said. Coincidentally, too, I'm a deacon, and so he is in an area where I am very comfortable and I like to talk about. But this is not about preaching anyway. But let me just continue from where he stopped. And I want to use Israel as an example. Israel, if you remember, was in tutelage in Egypt for a long time. And because there's a prophetic destiny for Israel, divine destiny for Israel, everything that happened to Israel was something that God allowed, and God used to get Israel out of Egypt. So Israel has a destiny. I think Nigeria also is a client nation for God. Nigeria has a destiny. And so if we borrow from Israel, I'm not surprised that we're going through the same type of challenge. It might be slightly different. The peculiarities may not be the same, but Nigeria is going through what I would call a teething problem, that I believe that will ultimately resolve itself in a situation where we all come together and work out a path that will, advance this nation in the direction that they should go. But let me just finish what I'm saying about Egypt, Israel. Israel was supposed to, the Israelites were supposed to take a journey of about 11 days from Egypt, during the Exodus. The journey was supposed to take about 11 days. But they ended up spending 40 years. And the man who did all that he could for God, called by God to lead, could not get to the promised land because of human challenges that he had. And so his getting to the promised land was truncated, even though he saw it. I think that is the kind of trajectory that Nigeria is going through right now. 64 years is a long year for any human being. If you assume that Nigeria is a human person, 64 years is a long time in any nation's life to reinvent itself and sort out whatever challenges that it had. But unfortunately, here we are. And the critical question to ask is, what's really the problem? Is it that we don't have solutions to our problems? Is it that we don't know the problems? Is it that we don't have the human capital? Is it that we don't have the wherewithal to deal with our problems? And if you ask me, I think the answer would be no. We know what the problems are. We know what the issues are. But the tragedy of the Nigerian nation is that those things that God has endowed us with, that naturally would be translated to very tangible, resources that would help the growth of our country, have all become negatives. Ethnicity, our multi-ethnic and religious character, the knowledge-based individual that we have. We have very, very, very a lot of virile youths who should be used to push, unleash their various potentials to advance the cause of a good nation for Nigeria. But all these have not been properly translated. Leadership has been a question. Yet when you look at the United States, you find out from records we know that if you look at the various immigrant groups, statistics tell us that Nigerians are the most educated.
All right. Hold on, Mr. Tony. I will ask you this question, and I need it like in 1 minute.
Yes.
So going forward, do you think it is better for Nigeria to continue to remain united or to separate? In 1 minute.
No, I don't think separation is the issue. I don't believe that separation will be the more the merrier. I don't think separation is the problem. I think that the institutions are very, very weak, because that's what sustains a society. The institutions are weak. If you have people who are human beings, have a tendency, to pursue their individual interests. So, but if you have institutions that are strong and are virile and potent, and they can stand and challenge such deviant behavior, then the nation works. But if you look at Nigeria, you don't. They are weak. They can be manipulated, they can be bought, and so the state captures them, and then turns to anybody who has enough money, will do whatever he wants with the country.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. We're actually trying to round up right now. Do you think? And also, I would like that your answer to be within 2 minutes. Do you think that the Nigerian as a nation has come to a point where we can just call it a day, in peaceful resolution, shake hands across the Niger and say, you know what, let's go back to the first that worked for us, which is regionalism, the West, the East, the North, the Central. Let's see how whether Nigeria can eventually do better than we have done in the last 64 years.
Regionalism in the first place did not work. That's why we abandoned it. Nigeria is beyond redemption.
I thought it was the coup that stopped regionalism.
No, there was corruption before regionalism. There was infighting among the leaders in the during the First Republic. It was the infighting that caused the Civil War. If you remember, when the British military left, the military was Nigerianized. Incompetent military officers were catapulted to hold positions they were not capable of holding. So they could not differentiate their military interest from political issues. They got themselves entangled with politicians, and the politicians messed them up. That is one of the contributory factors to the outbreak of the Civil War, incompetent military officers. So Nigeria is beyond redemption. I don't want to waste my time discussing how to solve Nigeria's problem. It seems we don't know the degree of the monumental rot we are grappling with. When I was a high school student, I think from 1 or 2, my science teacher taught us that chemical reactions are irreversible. Although one chemist told me not long ago that that has been debunked. It's just like a piece of meat that is rotten. He said you want to work on it to make it consumable. It's not possible. Nigeria is beyond redemption. Nigeria is an inspired product. So let us think of post-Nigeria republics. That's my submission.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Oti, do you think which way, united or we cannot to be separated, or which one? Separation or united?
Okay, my solution would be, well, you said it, regionalism, or could we could say sectionalism. Kind of, if like going apart, okay, albeit it could be temporal, okay, and so that's really for me a new beginning. So it won't be too drastic, and it's not it's not a total disintegration, but the regions or the sections to have more self-autonomy, and then to decide their destiny, and then maybe at some future point we can still have a Nigerian country, Nigeria, or by whatever other name called, but a separation to lessen the conflicts and the tensions, and the struggle for the power at the center. That is the problem we have. Too much power at the center, and then this power at the center dispenses privilege. So that's what the whole thing is all about. So we need to kind of a separation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ferrari. Yes. What's your own take so far? Because from your own explanation, the leadership knows what the problem is, but they don't want to take the option. So do we continue to manage the leadership like a man with the rotten teeth? They say that until the rotten tooth is pulled out of the mouth must continue to chew with caution. So what do you say, sir?
Let me first of all correct the assumption of your question, in the sense that you are assuming that all king folks are skin folks. In Nigeria, the fact
sorry, can you clarify me, since you are correcting me? Let me understand.
Yeah. That question is assuming that you keep calling them leaders. You are assuming that
no, not assuming the leaders of Nigeria.
Okay, the questions in itself assume, maybe not you, that we are one people, we are Nigerian. We're not. You have to be very clear about how we got to this stage. There are two types of people in Nigeria. Some people would like to say two tribes, not Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Benin, Shakiri, and all the other types we've been talking about. There's only two types. There is the ruling tribe, and then there's the ruled. The ruling type are not your kin folks. They are not your people, but you keep assuming they are your people. And as long as you work on that assumption, you continue to make the mistake. But that's not the answer to the question you asked. So the question you asked, we have three directions going forward. One, the issue we have is an issue of value. We have value, the issue of character value. And to change value, you have to change culture. For you to change culture, you have to ask yourself, who are the people in the society that can change value and culture? And those are the elites, the educated ones. the civil society, the traditional leaders, and most in particularly, one of the most important are the religious leaders. So once you get these people to be on the same page in an homogenized position of value, then they will now go down and be the light to shine in the darkness for the people who don't know much. So for that to happen, we need a strategic plan of about 10 to 20 years whereby you want to homogenize all these people that I mentioned, because they are the tools with which a society change. The elite, the educated ones, the religious leaders. Right now, none of them are on board of the Nigerian project, no matter how you deceive yourself. So that will take 10 to 20 years of thorough planning, meetings, execution, and then once they are homogenized as one, then they will go to enlighten the people. So we're looking at 10 to homogenize them, another 10 to get to the people, and then the society will change. But the society can change tomorrow. If the religious values of our religious leader change tomorrow, I tell you, to take 2 days, Nigeria will be changed within 2 days. And I meant that. So that's the first direction we could go. The second direction is for us to wait 100 or 150 years for all this polluted generation to die and hope that out of their death will rise a new generation. And I'm talking 100 to 150 years. Then the third and the last way is to break the monster into smaller pieces. Break that monster, that terrible dragon, into smaller pieces. But the problem that smaller pieces will have is that they will still go with that value to their new location, and they too would still undergo, or would need to undergo, the homogenization of their elites. So those are the facts that are available from my own perspective. 3 possible directions. You understand? The breakdown into tiny pieces will not solve the problem, but at least it will make the monster smaller, and a solution might come faster than the 10 to 20 years I estimated. They might get their solution within 5 years, I believe. But Nigeria can change in 2 or 3 days if your religious leaders are truly worshiping.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jagun.
Sir.
Yes, your take, sir. Like
Shall I just continue? Okay.
Please allow me to sign out.
Very good.
So very dark over here, please.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. You have made an input, right? So you want to sign out?
Yes, please. It's very dark over here.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you so much indeed. I wish you all well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. The question being, can you just remind me of the question again? Because I'm listening to everybody and getting a bit lost in their answer.
Okay.
Do you mind?
The question is, Nigeria have tried so far for 64 years. We have not been able to, we can't really name a milestone. Do we continue to try, or do we try to go to regionalism or separation? Which one will work better for a speedy and quick development for the people of Nigeria?
Okay, I'm with you now again. Now, what Ferreira has said, he has given us the options as he sees it. And I think options is something to be underlined mentally. Prior to that, our brother James underlined that he no longer believes in Nigeria, and he's not believed in Nigeria for a long time. Break the place up. I think my answer, given those who answered before, a great deal of respect in what they have said, my answer kind of breaks down in terms of where Nigeria is now, the kind of world we are living in, and therefore, how does Nigeria answer questions based on the flux that the world is presently in? And for me, both in terms of the economics and the security of an economic and viable marketplace arena, regional space of the world, that would give a Black peoples some level of access, some level of leverage
some level of focus under a region of the world that constitutes a market, constitutes an economy, constitutes a well-secured arena. If these are the present challenges, then our choices now become different, if that's how we're thinking. And for me, Nigeria remaining Nigeria and growing itself into a bigger regional power is the only course. However, I would say that is possibly the most expensive of the options that we might have. The most risky, some would say, of the options that we might have. But I would say the most expedient in terms of time, and the most value driven in terms of what we get if we win. Now, if again we are thinking on these claims, then we have to ask ourselves, is it possible to achieve given the behemoth that is before us? Yeah, I can end there if we're to continue at all. But yeah, that is my belief, that Nigeria should not break up. Nigeria should solve its problems. Nigeria solving its problems would solve many problems of the Black world. Nigeria maintaining the ECOWAS and leaning in through Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger to the Francophone West African countries as one region. This is my way forward.
Okay, thank you. Pastor Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much. As far as I'm concerned, whether we separate or we stay together, as long as they give me electricity, it doesn't bother me one single bit. I don't know the issue of separation or this and that. Electricity is well. But let me use my time to address what Mr. Tony said. Like I said, in terms of your question, I don't care whether we are up the mountain or in the valley. All I ask for is electricity. That's all. Mr. Tony, I think we should be careful how we try to draw comparison with Nigeria and the children of Israel, or whichever way we want to do it. Because if you remember, Moses told the children of Israel, whatever you are benefiting, the land you are going to take, is not because of your integrity or your innocence. It's because of the promise God made to your fathers. So the question before us is, who are the fathers that God made promise to? And we are not comparing Nigeria to Israel. And we have to be careful in this regard, because some people, I've heard this narrative. Oh, Nigeria is like the children of Israel. No, there is no scriptural, no scientific evidence to that. And we'll have this another day. This is not for it. We'll have this discussion another day. There is no scriptural, no scientific evidence to support that claim that Nigeria is like. If Nigeria is like the children of Israel, then let's behave like them. Let's start to carry guns. Let's fight. Let's start to defend our borders. Let's start to fight for freedom the way they are defending their people. Let's do right. We don't have to go through 480 years or 430 years. No, there is no comparison for that. All we need to do is what? Is to do right. And the idea that Alaba said that if Nigeria is religious leader, no, it's everybody's responsibility. Yes, leaders matters. I have to tell you the truth, you have to tell me the truth. I have to act the truth, you have to act the truth. It is everybody's responsibility, not a religious leader. Thank you. I yield the floor back to you, KJ.
Thank you. Mr. No, Jagun, we're rounding up, not going back. Okay, yes, Tony, you have, yes, 2 minutes also. You are muted.
Let me respond to some of the things that the pastor said, and then I can make my further contributions.
2 minutes.
First of all, Scripture tells us that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the people and all who dwell in it. And Nigeria is a part of the earth. So there's a destiny, there's a prophetic destiny concerning Nigeria, just as it is with every nation, Now, I'm looking at, I use Israel as a historical basis. I'm not looking at the religious implications but there's a historicity in my analysis when I use Israel. I'm saying that there was a prophetic destiny concerning Israel. And there are certain things that were supposed to be done, but the people by themselves inflicted upon themselves what happened to them. And so it took a much longer period for them to achieve what ordinarily would have taken a shorter time to attain. That's the basis for my comparison. But let me say something here. You see, in the life of every nation, there are two things that govern a nation. There's policy and there's prophecy. Now, policy is the governmental afflatus upon which the government operates. For instance, you have the Constitution, which is the grand norm. And so every nation is supposed to follow whatever, constitution that it has laid down for itself. Okay, there are goals that are set. There are defined ways by which people behave and do things, and so on and so forth. So if you follow that, then you can attain your goal, and then it will be measurable because there are already guidelines that you have to attain. Now, in the prophecy, has to do with what? Again, I go to the Bible. How God wants a nation to be ordered. How does the Bible says that when a good king is in the throne, the people rejoice. Righteousness exalts a nation, and sin is a reproach to any people. So prophecy has to do with the way God wants a nation to be governed, the way they treat widows, the way they treat the orphans, the way they treat, the way a king should rule or a leader should rule, So the contiguity between prophecy and policy determines how far a nation goes. If the policy of a nation, it doesn't matter whether it's a Christian nation or not. Take, for instance, Dubai, for instance, or take any Muslim nation that they are not Christian nations, but they do the right thing. And what the Bible says is righteousness exalts a nation. So it's forensic rightness, doing the right thing. Now, in Nigeria, there's a tragedy, with our situation, that the constitution is not followed. So the judiciary, for instance, the arms of government, the various checks in the system that you have collapsed. The judiciary is cash and carry. The legislature, of course, you know what we see, and then leadership is a total failure, and then the followership is a problem. So when you have, in terms of what they do, a nation that does the right thing will prosper. If you don't do the right thing, if you pray from now till tomorrow, you are not going to prosper. That is the truth. So until Nigeria begins to redefine itself and reappraise its situation, okay, and identify what it wants to achieve, and everybody, comes around and contributes to the attainment of that particular goal, that will lead to the greater good for the greater majority of the people. Until that time, we'll continue to go round and round and round in circles. That's what I'm trying to say. So the issue is not really whether we separate or whether we take regionalism. Right. We have tried the parliamentary system; it failed. We're now in the presidential system. There are countries that have been doing this and they've been doing well. So what is the problem with the Nigerian situation? What is it?
Okay, thank you so much for that beautiful contribution. And Forefather, you are the last speaker.
Yeah, thank you for having me, KJ. I appreciate it, and greetings to all the panelists. Greetings to the chat and to the viewers. Separation or unity? I think we've had separation. We've tested it before, and it didn't get us anywhere. And we tried to do it again. It failed woefully, and it weakened us till date. It's still weakening us. And if you look at the challenges that we face in the world, it's a complete wrong-headed thinking to think separation is going to help us deal with those things at all. If anything, we should be looking at forming bigger groups. There is a reason why the Sahel nations are a little bit respected today, because they were able to achieve something that many of West Africa couldn't achieve within a short period of time. And nobody, if you want to mess with one of them, then you have to mess with three of them. The whole world is forming greater groups. And we are arguing about whether we should form smaller groups when we are already disadvantaged in such a way. Whatever we can do separately, we can do it together, and maybe more together. So we were separated once. We had our own way of ruling ourselves once. We lost it all, every single one of it. And we are still trying to recover ourselves today. And now, what is the argument? We should go back to where we were before, as if that was going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. I wish it would, but the world is not waiting for you. The world is ganging up against each other. They are all forming bigger blocks. And if you look at what is going on in the Middle East today and look at what is going on in Ukraine and everywhere, the fact that we are not even ready, and they are there. We are not ready. And we are still here navigating whether we should break up or not. We are facing existential issues here. Can you tell me whether you can compete with the powers that are arguing amongst themselves? The ones with bunker busters that can go how many 30 feet down under the ground and destroy lives, flatten whole cities, flatten whole block area within a few seconds. That is what we are dealing with. That's the world we are dealing with. It's like an Olympics game. And you are not even ready for it. You are not even preparing for it. You are looking to say, okay, let's not go and run on the racetrack that the fastest races or Usain Bolt is running. Let's just go and run with the nursery school kids. It's not going to get us anywhere. And these things, there are consequences to it. This is not a joke. The topic sounds like, okay, it's just this is a kind of exercise in thoughts and what people believe in. But there are consequences to these things. If we don't get it right, we are going to be in serious problems. If you think what is going on in the Middle East is going to stop there, it's not only going to stop there, it has implications for us. That's why our nation cannot function, because we don't seem to get ourselves out of a space where we can fully become aware and become self-actualizing, whereby what we believe in, we go ahead and do it. Other nations can do it. Even small Israel can do it. And we can still do it. And we want to argue whether we should divide. Personally, there is not much to be gained from it. It's just going to weaken us. The only reason why you hear about Nigeria today is because of our size. That is the only reason. If we become smaller, it's going to be Ethiopia. It's going to be Burundi. So breaking up gets us zero. It just weakens us. If anything, we should be looking to bring ourselves closer to ECOWAS. So we'll have a strength of about 500 million people, and
That's
all
right.
of them, we start gaining what they call economics of scale. So many things you gain from working together in the world today. The reason why you have
Especially as
to
a
do that,
Nigerian.
yeah, the reason why you have to do that is because that's what the whole world is doing. They are all ganging up. If you go and look at the agreements that they are all signing amongst themselves, it's crazy. These people are already friends, so you are already friends. You're already trading together. You have military alliances, and you're still signing agreements. What is that? And we are looking to just break up apart, go separate ways. No.
KJ,
I'm not going to argue for that.
KJ,
I'm sorry.
Can I allow me? Let me just a minute. Offer us. No, this is a false argument. Now, you talk
No.
about
I think you should allow him to land, though, because
he's landed.
he's on a position that at least I agree with.
Jargon, allow me, okay? Forefathers, yes, big and bigger is good, but these nations, Europe, for example, you talked about, is made up of independent, countries, all right? So, I don't see Nigeria can be big, but it doesn't have to be this unwieldy, entity, a group of people you cannot govern. All right. So when we talk about and separation, the autonomous regions or sections, if you like, if they are strong by themselves, nothing stops them coming together, functioning as a bigger group, a bigger bloc, perhaps with even other countries together. But each strong, well-governed, independent, autonomous, self-determining. So what is wrong with that?
Can I quickly come in before Father continues, please, sir?
I think it's up to KJ to allow that.
Yes, that's who I'm putting it to.
Sorry?
Okay, can you allow, you see, I'm trying us not to elongate it, but let's Oti finish, then you speak, and then Forefather. And then any other person who want to speak. So let's just, if you have anything to, we can also equally take your own. So let's not be like.
Okay. So what I'm saying, this argument about size is not really, it's not it's not the be all and end all. Okay, size that is really not functioning, that is disorganized, in disarray, and directionless. What's the point of it? I mean, we are big, but what are we today in Africa, in West Africa, in the world? And what are the indices? What is our reputation?
I've got his point, or I think we have his point.
You see, we are big.
Can I say this? Can I just quickly interrupt you? As you said now, KJ.
Okay, talk now, Jagun.
Thank you. You see, I would have liked for Forefather to have continued without interruption, because what you interrupted and the point that you brought in your interruption was an aspect of his whole argument. Now, I don't know if you are listening to me, Forefather, but what you are saying differently from what I'm saying is exactly the same to what I said, and I gave it the stages. If you heard, maybe you should have conjoined it in order to push your thing further. If there's agreement on the platform, I think that is intellectually good to do, to forward an argument, if you recognize that they were similar at all. Now, when OT speaks, I feel that he, apart from not listening to the arc of the argument, he asked questions about governance. How can you govern 500 people? You can govern 500 people, 500 million people, if you're doing it correctly, my friend. And because of the Francophone, Anglophone, Portuguese aspects of West Africa, apart from our own individual ethnic biases, this is a complex thing. But because there is such a thing as wisdom, there is such a political device as Pan-Africanism, where there is a voice that needs to be spoken for the downtrodden of that West Africa that would come to an agreement in order to give us standing in the world. I'm afraid you can't object as minimally as you do when that is what we are playing with. What Forefather is putting forward is the importance, the urgency of our position globally right now. What steps are we really going to take? Are we going to continue flimmer-flammering between this and that, which is an argument to have? Or are we going to look at a macrocosm idea that a country like Nigeria should lead? This is what we've got to get. We've got to get on the same page somehow. Please listen. I believe we really need to pay attention as to what we're supposed to be listening to and the point of view that is laid before us, but we are not seeing it. Yet it's in plain sight. But many of us still are not seeing it. So please allow Forefather to continue, please.
All right, thank you. Forefather, please continue, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Oh my, that's very generous. So as I was saying, it's not that no nation will not have any problems. You will have your problems. You will have the ups and downs. But when the chips are down, the bigger you are, the bigger punch you can throw. The only reason why they are worried about Iran today is mostly because of the size of Iran. Iran is bigger than even Iraq, and Iran is bigger than Lebanon. Russia is bigger than both of them, and China is bigger than the other. If you want to take them on, you're going to take China on, you're going to take 1.4 billion people. And good luck with that one, how you're going to come out of it. And the same thing with India. And the idea that I hear your argument that European nations are separated in terms of individual nations. That was when they had the advantage of technology when they came and conquered us. One nation, small, but they can conquer us. But yet, with all that disadvantage, they still now are grouped in one bunch like NATO, EU. If you see how many agreements they are signing amongst themselves, it's scary. They are basically one nation. They are basically one nation. Even if they are not coming across as saying one nation, they are basically one nation. Make no mistake. You can travel from one country to the other almost just as freely as you can move in Nigeria, just with very, very little restrictions at all. So the idea that they are not behaving like a nation, they are actually behaving like a nation, and you can see that the way they approach things in the world. Whenever they come at you as a group, and when they sanction you, all of them follow it, all in one go. Can you say that even within West Africa? If barely even Nigerians can even enforce one rule that they put in place for the entire country. So we have to figure out a way to work with each other, because whatever you want to achieve separately, you can achieve it together. And I believe we can do better, and we should be looking to even expand our influence to West Africa, this in Cameroon, and somewhere during in the Congos. At the core of all these things is our ability to be able to assert our sovereignty. And to assert your sovereignty, you need to take care of your security. If you don't do your due diligence to do it, you can see that in the world today. No war was happening last year around this time. No war was happening the year before that. But look at what is happening today. Because when the day comes of the day of judgment comes, and you are not ready, I feel sorry for your people then. And this is what pains me the most. This is why I come across here and I sound as if I'm crazy sometimes. Because that vision is always in my head. I always imagine what it was like for the kingdom of Benin when the British came and they just destroyed everything. The king, everybody gone. Your whole world is upside down. We don't know what that is like. We've never visited, we've never lived through that. If we know what it was like, maybe our eyes will be more open to the danger that we are in. We are not prepared for anything. And I really say that we need to wake up to this thing. And if we refuse to wake up, we will be woken up. Let's pray that when that day comes, when we are woken up, we have a chance to survive it. Because the last time when our eyes opened up, we were colonized for almost 60 years, and they brainwashed all the leaders. Today, we've still not recovered from it. When they come back again to do it the second time, we may not survive it again. And the consequence of that may be far more reaching. And this stuff gives me nightmares. It gives me nightmares. Thank you for the 2 minutes. Thank you.
Paul Father, you have never spoken better, my brother.
Okay, thank you, Jagun. On this faithful note, I'm going to bring this discussion to a close. But here is what I will say. Some people are asking, where is another representation on this panel? We didn't invite anybody who is here. Everybody came on their own evolution. If the northern people wanted to be here, they will be here. But however, I also spoke generally. I wasn't leaning to any direction. And I made it very clear from the beginning. Our leaning this time is not going to be about the Biafran question. Maybe on another day, we can take the Biafran question. Our leading this time was to see which way we can manage to bring our nation together and move forward. And so far, all the panelists have been able to expand their ideas with you, and so you can make your own conclusion. We deliberately didn't allow people to drag you to a point where to say, this is where you stand or this is where we stand. No, we allow you to look at put all the comments or their points together and decide for yourself where you want to be. But I had to go, and this is my own opinion. We can't always say because we are a big nation and we're big for nothing. We have not even been able to pursue logically a policy in Africa and use our size to get it. It was so difficult to even get additional, even into African Development Bank. The only reason why he was able to excel in that thing was because he speaks French more than the French people. And I can still remember in his submission, he did everything in French. To the amazement of the French people, he spoke better French than they speak. And so they saw him as an exceptional person. So consequently, all their plans didn't work. So when some people come and say it's Nigeria that made it, no, Nigeria didn't make the man. Is brainy. Is well, in fact, it's so is he excelled in the presentation of his paper, and they had no choice but to take him. So why am I saying that? I'm saying to say the size, we have not been able to use our size to get anything for ourselves. We have not been able to use our size to even get Liberia and Sierra Leone that will help to liberate to be on our side. We didn't use our size to get South Africa to even have respect for Nigerians. So the size have not really helped us in this case. However, if we're talking about size and location, if we look at people like Israel, and we sometimes like to refer to Israel, Israel is a small nation. They have been able to hold their own. There are 9 million people. Estonia, it remains one of the most advanced technology country as in technology in the world, and they are very small. I think they are less than 15 million people. Okay, Ghana is 40 million people. So I'm just saying this to say that we in Nigeria have enough number to try to, even if we wanted to go on our own, to go. But we do not have to go on our own. We can come to the same arrangement that was made before the coming of the British. Sorry, before the amalgam, what was written in the Constitution before we got independence, which is that all of us will operate as a confederacy. A confederacy. The East used to have an embassy in England, and subsequently other regions had their own embassies to the countries where they are interested in having relationship. The federal government controls the military, the border, and all that. Okay, but the states, the regions had the opportunity to develop at their own pace with nobody feeling marginalized. If we want to really develop as a nation, then our nation should equally go forward and remove certain hindrances that have been landmines, I would call it, that have been planted in the system. For instance, Mr. James told us a story how he was not able to get a job in Sokoto because they said he was not born there. He wasn't born in Sokoto or born in the north. Consequently, if he wanted to get a job, he should go back to Edo. These are the things that have constantly eroded our nation, okay, because it is done to us, it's done to our children, it's done to almost everybody. So we should ask ourselves, do we really want to be a nation, or do we want to just continuously to wallow around? There was a study that came out and said that Nigeria will disintegrate finally 2030. If that is the truth, do we see anything that looks like that happening? Are the present crop of leaders who have interested in making Nigeria work? If they are, don't you think we'll have more intellectuals who can develop Nigeria with their ideas and their abilities without having to wait another 40 years in the desert? It's not about whether we can live. Every nation, Benin Republic is there. We have not even been able to integrate West Africa. Remember the last time that Nigeria introduced the monetary policy, which we wanted all the West African countries to use, called ECO. Okay? You all know how it ended. I don't want to say it here, but we all know how it ended. Eventually it was taken over by the French. And before we knew it, they had done underground work, and that's the end of it. So what am I saying? I'm simply saying, if we have not, as the size that we are, have not been able to use it to get ourselves in position that we want, or to repair our nation, then maybe it's a time that we all sit around the table and take a second look at what we use as our, document of operation, and see if there's
Can I
anything.
ask you a question, please, KJ?
Yes, sir.
What your submission just there was very good, and it did bring a nice rounding to this discussion this evening. But there's something that you said that sticks in my mind.
Okay.
And I wonder how you would honestly answer this. The geography that we call Nigeria today, based on the beautiful shape that it takes, in my estimation, and then the regionalism that the Europeans left us with, this geography that says there's a north, a west, and an east. I don't believe in that geography, and I would have a different geography. And I'll tell you my geography. And this is not to lead you into how to answer. Please have your answer in mind now rather than after I've said this. But I just want to make mention that I've answered this question along with me asking you. The geography of Nigeria, in my mind, should, as when the Europeans left, should have been the south, including what we call the west and the east. This whole region should be one region called the south. Then there's the middle belt as we have it today. Then there is the north, which is the core north as we understand it. I believe that Nigeria would have grown on a different principle, given that geography, given that economic plane, given that mentality. Now, when you mentioned the three regions, you are having it as it was left by the Europeans. Would you maintain it like that, or would you have a difference in your geography?
Okay, Jagun, what you asked is very important. Now, when the West came, and this is my opinion, when the West came, they didn't go to meet our forefathers, our the custodians of our culture or our tradition to ask them. So, you say you are from a BBO. Where did the BBO start and where did it stop? They didn't ask that question. They didn't go to the Benin people and say, where is the natural boundaries of the Benin people? Where is your own territory? Where did it end? Where did it start? Okay. They simply sat on the table somewhere in Belgium and drew their maps and said that this is how it's going to be. So you find out that if you go to Benin Republic, you have a lot of people speaking Yoruba. And then you cross over to Lagos, you just see Yoruba speakers. Okay. So it wasn't naturally put together as it would have been.
We are aware. We are aware now.
So what I'm saying is that if you ask me now, as the way Nigeria is, I will still say that the military made the same mistake that was made by the Europeans.
I want to know your answer, not the answer of the whole world. Please, bruh. The history lesson is, we know it. It is the answer to this particular question that I want from you. Because sometimes our minds are inflexible to what the Oyinbos have left. We can't think outside their structure. We have it as they gave it to us. When we now say that there's a region called South-South, we want to complain that there's no such geography as South-South. There's no such geography as the geography that they left us with in the first place. So you can make up anything. I'm asking you, because my answer, if the whole South, Yorubas and Igbos and everybody in between, is one region working strongly, Nigeria is founded. Largely because Nigeria is really that portion of the nation in terms of what makes Nigeria truly work in aspects of culture, education, prowess, and unity. No. Let me give it to you so you understand where I'm coming from. Now, if all of that comes together under one structure, Nigeria is working, as opposed to the to-ing and fro-ing that East and West have functioned like. We needed to function completely differently than the way we are functioning. And the geography and the economic geography would have given us that. But we know what happened in history. I'm putting to you, sir. Please come to answer the question, no flim-flam. What geography, if different from what the Europeans left, at your...
Can I help KJ with the answer? Can I help him? Can I answer the question?
If you want to talk, you can, but I have my answer.
Make you say I'm now. Make you say I'm KJ.
I think some people have already answered this question. We have what is called I think the 6 geographical zones, right? So people have thought about this, okay? And so we can adopt that going forward as the new, if you like, regions or the new sections, okay? And then govern Nigeria that way, a bit of autonomy, and because all these sections have they share some homogeneity, culturally and otherwise. So that way, with greater autonomy, and of course each section, each zone developing at their own pace, doing what they do
What
best.
would your geography look like, sir?
Geography. Well, that's what I'm saying. The zones, you know. I think we have them. You know, which.
No, I know we have them. I've seen many of them, and you're correct in where you're going. But I want you to give me your valued opinion on how Nigeria's geography should look economic based on your growth pattern. I spoke about mine as since the Europeans left Nigeria, if the South was the whole South, Middle Belt was the Middle Belt as we understand it in terms of what their dimensions are, and then there was the North. 3 zones like that set in that way as opposed to set in the way the British left it. If it was set in that way, Nigeria would have been founded based on the fact that the whole South, being what the South is, that energy would have solved many of Nigeria's problems.
I think we need to bring it close.
Hold on, sorry. Jago, is it the one thing now the East and West? Look, you see I think it will be the Yorubas and the Igbos, okay? I mean with all the abilities and commonalities.
We're aware of it.
No, for them to be together, you know, if we are kind of
my brother, you know, Igbo say that. I'm agreeing with you. I know where you're going. Igbo say that. Yoruba say that. Igbo say that. Yoruba say that.
Let's bring it to a close. Let's bring it to a close. Thank you. No, Otis, okay. We will not be able to end it. And Mr. Loco, do you want to say something before we round up? I want to give you 1-2 minutes to say something. So no be say we'll see you. We'll just come to like say we'll not see you, because you know be mirror now.
I just come in to greet everybody. Well done, though.
Okay. We
Just
don't
say well done. Yeah,
okay.
Because anything they have to say, nothing that I want to say that I haven't said before, or nothing we'll be saying that we haven't said before. So, well done, everybody. Keep the fire burning. Happy Independence Day to you, everybody.
Okay. On that faithful note, I want to say happy Independence to everybody. We didn't get to where we wanted to, but we were able to make some progress. And as long as people keep talking, there will be peace. Because
you did not answer the question.
What's the question?
The question that I'm going to ask you: what geography would you create, or something like that?
No, I'm not going to create any fresh geography. I'm going to just deal what was working before. What was working before was that how do you create how does a nation form? A nation is formed by ethics, your tradition, your language, your culture. Okay, who have the same values and culture closer to each other will be neighbors. That's why if you find out the people
regions, southwest, southeast,
I have not answered. Let me answer now. The people from the southeast have the same culture tradition with people from Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Delta. Okay, they can become a nation. The people from West have the same culture with those that dress like the Westerners, and they have the same culture. The people from the Middle Belt have the same culture with those who are from the North or from the Middle Belt. And they're the same. The people from the North have the same culture. So you cannot now say, you know, if you are talking about drawing up the map, that will be easy. You can
KJ, I would say you are doing what is called pick and choose what you think.
I'm not doing any pick and choose. I
see. I know what you are doing. You are doing pick and choose what you like.
You have your opinion.
Exactly.
And I'm giving my opinion, and you're not telling me I'm picking and choosing. How?
Your opinion is still to pick and choose.
If you come to the East, let me give you an example. If you come to the East, there are the people who closely relate to the Easterners. The women tie 2 wrappers.
Seriously?
No, don't go there. Okay, don't go there with don't go there, bro.
Okay, there's a particular dress style.
With women rapper that you want to use to create a culture.
Particular style that those people have. However, you see, what you're trying to do is to develop me into tribal discussion now, which I'm not ready to.
Which you shouldn't do. This is KJ, if I can very quickly, then let me and KJ just go back and forth for a minute, just for a second. KJ, my brother. You see, what I depict is of my understanding and my mindset, and I depict it based on not accepting what has in Berlin, or what has been left by the Europeans, because they have deep knowledge. Don't get them wrong. Don't think it's just lines in the sand. They know exactly what they were doing. Now, when I look at what Nigeria is, and no matter the differences in the whole of Nigeria, the similarities in the South are more than anywhere else. Somebody wrote, it's laughable. But the fact of the matter is, that whole terrain before the Europeans came was rather embryonic. We all knew each other. We knew what each other was doing. We knew the fabric of each other's societies. And between the Yorubas in the West, the Benin Empire in the middle there, which is a microcosm of much, as we all know. And then the particulars and peculiarities of the East and what their societies were. We knew what it was. When now the European came to tell us what it is, whereby the East is the East and the West is the West somehow, Niger, and then Benin are causing their own fractures from what the West, as it, Benin is down the road from Ife now. It's down the road. It's not that far, you know. To say that there was such a separation is just rubbish. You know, don't even bring it to the table. So, given in my historic aspect of what that place is and what we realize how it was made to function in this modern world, it largely happened from the South. There was largely more agreement with all the way we like to be upset with each other, crying like babies. For all of that, we know that we have more similarities amongst ourselves going forward. This is why I say that geography that we are staying as the West, the East, and the North is still the geography that has been left to us. And that geography that's been left to us is shit. It's a hog of rubbish. So yes, let somebody now bring their own level of itemization on what would have been strategically a greater performer balance if Yorubas, the central arenas of the South and East, and the East.
No, yeah, I
want you to truly understand what I'm saying.
End of this program.
Okay, truly, KJ, understand what I'm saying, because I think there's depth in it. If that whole South was one, and what I mean by one, like just like the whole North is one under Hausa Fulani. If that South was one economically and somewhat politically, because we have nuance, do you not think that would have been a greater platform for which Nigeria to have grown on? Is what I'm putting to you. Goodness me, that was a hard word.
Okay.
Yes, but Jagun. You see, the politics are out of the possible. Okay, nothing is wrong with that. It's a deal. It's an ideal. But you know, the peoples, the big the Igbos and the Yorubas, you know, just to name them, I think it's going to be, if Nigeria is to kind of you know, go separate ways. I mean, regional. It's the better off each on their own developing. They can compete. They can have rivalry, positive one, contribute.
That's what the Europeans gave us.
No, listen,
that's what that's what the Europeans gave us.
Listen, it's not
from
about
the
Europe.
Listen.
Okay,
if you know the history,
hold on. Oti, hold on. I think
you can live with
everybody understands what you're saying, and the people in the panel have followed it. Now, they followed your discussion and they understand better than I do. Yes, the people who are asking me what did I say, women, I just simply say Igbo woman, Igbo people, they tie two wrapper. Please don't kill me. That is that's what my mother, she said ties two wrapper. So if that is not in your favor, it's okay. I'm not.
My own mother tied two wrapper. We are not people.
I don't know.
Those people doing two wrapper from tribe.
I haven't said that. Whatever it is, I like at this point to say it's been good discussing this issue, and we can never end the issue of Nigeria in one, in one throw. So when we come, let's reduce our desire to discuss all that. We can break it into two. You can also send whatever topic you want to discuss to the panelists, to Adama, to Tokwe. You can send them your topics, and we will see how we can work on it. Because sometimes you need to do some research before you can bring these things up, and sometimes it doesn't go the way you want because the panelists drive you towards another direction while your script and everything goes to another direction. Well, that's all about production. So sometimes not about what you have come prepared for, it's what the people want to talk about. You just let them express themselves, and as long as it doesn't offend anybody. On that faithful note, I will say thank you so much for being here with us, and may God bless all of us. Again, happy Independence 64 independence of Nigeria. By His grace, we will see at the 65th independence of Nigeria. Hopefully, we'll still be one nation. If not, I'll give you my passport, Biafran passport. You can meet me there, because I see some people are telling me that it seems I'm pro Biafra. I have never hidden it. I'm IPOB. I'm Igbo. I'm indigenous. So you can see it. Indigenous people of
you are terrorists. According to Nigerian law, you are terrorists.
No, well, whatever you say, I am, but
Nigerian law.
I'm indigenous and I cannot hide it. That's who I am. I respect whoever, whatever.
Backstage,
whatever tribe that you are, I respect it and I respect your view. We all can come from one tribe. God has blessed every tribe, and all of us are blessed. Thank you so much, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Nice one.